Good morning. I'd like to call to order the Public Improvement Commission hearing of July 12th, 2018. The first item, we have reviewed and approved at the PSC staff level the meeting minutes from June 21st. The first item, a public hearing on a petition by DJ Properties LLC for the widening and relocation of existing right-of-way lines of Damrell Street, a public way in South Boston. On the southwesterly side between Old Colony Avenue and Ewer Street. This was new business on June 21st, 2018. This is as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Highway Easement Plan, Damrell Street, Public Way, Washington Village, South Boston, 2 sheets, dated June 2018. Morning, John.
Good morning, Commissioners. John Schmidt with Ditch Engineering, and on behalf of DJ Properties LLC, we are seeking a 4-week continuance until August 9th for public hearing items 1 through 7. And I don't know if you have to go through and read each one.
I do.
I apologize for that.
It's okay, John. Any questions or comments on the request for continuance until August 9th?
John, are you confident that the issues that are outstanding will be resolved within that time frame, or you're working towards that fact?
We're working towards it. I'm confident of nothing these days.
Amir Todd, members of the public.
They're looking to set up some future meetings to discuss further some of the transportation issues and resolve and have some good sound engineering go into the review. So we're looking to do that in a next couple weeks.
Appreciate that.
All right, I'll entertain a motion on this first item, which is to continue it until for 4 weeks until August 9th.
I'll make a motion to continue the petition by DJ Properties LLC for the widening and relocation on Damrell Street as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Our next item is also on a joint petition by DJ Properties LLC and the City of Boston Public Works Department for the abandonment of any and all rights to travel the public may have had within the private way portion of Alger Street, South Boston, from Dorchester Avenue to its southeasterly terminus. This was new business on June 21st, 2018. This is as shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Abandonment Plan, Alger Street, Private Way, Washington Village, South Boston, 1 sheet dated May 30th, 2018.
Good morning, John Schmidt, Ditch Engineering. On behalf of DJ Properties LLC, we are seeking a continuance until August 9th.
Any questions or comments? All right, I'll entertain a motion on this item to continue it until August 9th.
I'll make a motion to continue item number 2, read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Our third item is on a joint petition by DJ Properties LLC and the City of Boston Public Works Department for the approval of the line and grade of a new public way in South Boston known as Alger Street from Dorchester Ave to a point approximately 725 southeasterly at the proposed Chippewa Way, located generally between Damrell Street and Middle Street. This was new business on June 21st, 2018. This is as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Line and Grade Approval, Alger Street, Public Way, Washington Village, South Boston, 5 sheets, dated June 2018.
Good morning, John Schmidt, Ditch Engineering. On behalf of DJ Properties LLC, we are seeking a continuance until August 9th.
Any questions or comments on this? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to continue public hearing number 4 to August 9th.
To be clear, this one is public hearing number 3.
Three. Public hearing 3.
I'll second. Continuing public.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Our fourth item is on a petition by DJ Properties LLC for the approval of the line and grade of a new public way in South Boston known as Chippewa Way from Damrell Street to Alger Street, located generally between Old Colony Avenue and Ewer Street. This was new business on June 21st, 2018. This is as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Line and Grade Approval, Chippewa Way, Public Way, Washington Village, South Boston, 4 sheets dated June 2018.
Good morning, John Schmidt, Ditch Engineering. On behalf of DJ Properties LLC, we are seeking a continuance until August 9th.
Any questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion on this request to continue.
I'll make a motion on the petition by DJ Properties LLC for line and grade on Chippewa Way to be continued.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Our next item is on a petition by DJ Properties LLC for the layout approval of an extension of Ewer Street, a private way open to public travel in South Boston from Damrell Street to the proposed Alger Street. This was new business on June 21st, 2018. This is as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Layout Approval, Ewer Street, Washington Village, Private Way, open to public travel, South Boston. 2 sheets dated June 2018.
John Schmidt, Niche Engineering. On behalf of DJ Properties, we are seeking a continuance until August 9th.
Any questions on this request? All right, I'll entertain a motion to continue this until August 9th.
I'll make a motion to continue public hearing number 5 as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Our next item is on a petition by DJ Properties LLC for the acceptance of pedestrian easements adjacent to the following public ways in South Boston: Old Colony Avenue on its westerly side between Damrell Street and Dorchester Street, and Dorchester Street on its northwesterly side southwest of Old Colony Avenue. This was new business on June 21st, 2018. And this is as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Pedestrian Easement Plan, Old Colony Avenue, Dorchester Street, Public Way, Washington Village, South Boston. 2 sheets dated June 2018.
Good morning, John Schmidt, Niche Engineering. On behalf of DJ Properties LLC, we are seeking a continuance until August 9th.
Any questions on this? All right, I'll entertain a motion to continue this until August 9th.
I'll make a motion to continue public hearing number 6 to August 9th. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. And our 7th item, on a petition by DJ Properties LLC for the making of specific repairs within the following public ways in South Boston, consisting of curb realignment, roadway, sidewalk, and pedestrian ramp reconstruction, as well as new and relocated specialty pavement, street lighting infrastructure, storm drain infrastructure, bike racks, street trees, landscaping, irrigation infrastructure, and driveway curb cuts. The locations are Damrell Street on its southwesterly side between Old Colony Avenue and Ewer Street, Old Colony Avenue on its westerly side between Damrell Street and Dorchester Street, and Dorchester Street on its northwesterly side southwest of Old Colony Avenue. This was new business on June 21st, 2018, and this is shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Specific Repairs Plan, Damrell Street, Old Colony Avenue, Dorchester Street, Washington Village, Public Way, South Boston. 5 sheets dated June 2018.
Good morning, John Schmidt, Niche Engineering. On behalf of DJ Properties LLC, we are seeking a continuance until August 9th. And I also want to thank the Commission, Boston Public Works, and Boston Transportation Department on their patience and guidance as we work through these technical issues.
Thanks. Any questions or comments? All right, I'll entertain a motion to continue this item until August 9th.
I'll make a motion to continue public hearing number 7 until August 9th as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. John, thank you. All right. Moving on to our 8th item, this is on a joint petition by Trinity Orient Heights Phase 2 Limited Partnership and the Boston Housing Authority for the widening and relocation of the existing right-of-way lines of Valor Road, a public way in East Boston. On both sides, it addresses number 1 through 70 from Faywood Road to its northwesterly terminus. This was new business on June 21st, 2018, and this is shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, and Widening, Relocation, and Extension Plan of Street, Valor Road, Orient Heights, East Boston, 1 sheet dated May 4th, 2018. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Commissioners. My name is David Linhart with Goulston & Stores on behalf of the development team for Orient Heights redevelopment, and I'm here with other members of the team, Sienna, Dean, and Deb.
Dean Papadimitriou, Counsel for the Boston Housing Authority.
Deborah Danik with Niche Engineering. Oh, Sienna DeSantis with Trinity Financial.
And we're here to return for a set of petitions for Phase 2, and Deb is going to describe the work that's happened between new business and now.
Yes, thank you. So just a big picture discussion about the project. Excuse me. The existing Orient Heights Boston Housing Authority redevelopment project is located in East Boston and is bounded by Waldemar Avenue to the north. It's bisected by Valor Road, a public way in the middle, and then the end of it is on the south side of Faywood Avenue. Currently, the proposal is to reconstruct 331 affordable units. There's existing there. We're replacing in kind with a combination of new buildings, of townhouses, and mid-rise buildings. The construction and development has been broken up into 4 phases. So this is Phase 2 of approvals and design for this project. The Phase 1 project included construction of buildings along Waldemar Avenue and housing, and people have actually already moved into it. So we're here to talk about Phase 2 and Valor Road. So as part of the proposed work, the existing right-of-way of Valor Road is a 40-foot right-of-way with two-way traffic and parking on both sides. We're proposing to widen that road to the standard City of Boston 53 feet wide road in order to provide complete streets, as well as at the west end of Valor Road, there's an existing cul-de-sac turnaround that will be expanded and modified to provide better fire truck access to it. So our first request is for the change in the line and grade of Valor Road in order to provide the 53-foot wide right-of-way width through the majority of the road, as well as tee off the intersection from Valor Road to Faywood Ave, which is kind of a wide open expanse at this point. We didn't have any specific questions to the widening and relocation plan at new business. I don't know if there's any further questions.
Deborah?
Yes.
Who is going to be doing the construction? Who is going to be doing the construction?
So the private developer will be doing the construction and the construction oversight. So you will see us back here as part of, and I'm sorry, it may not include a public hearing, but we will be going through the street acceptance process with the PIC.
Is the city contributing any resources to the roadway construction?
To the actual construction, no.
So the work will be completed, managed by Trinity Financial with the oversight of the PHA administration and finally accepted through the PIC process of the city.
Correct.
What is the timeline for this construction, roughly?
So we're anticipating starting construction in March of 2019, and then the buildings will be done. And so actually, I'll back up. So we're getting Valor Road, the whole length of Valor Road permitted at this time, and the layout of that. Phase 2 construction is actually only about half of Valor Road, so it's the western end and the cul-de-sac. So when we're talking about this construction time frame, it's only for about 2/3 to half of the roadway.
The notch which you have, what is it for?
The notch out?
The notch.
Yep. So,
Halfway.
existing on Valor Road, along here, there are existing head-in parking spaces near the community center. We're proposing that are currently not within the right-of-way. We're proposing to take those head-in parking spaces and actually shift them away from the community center so that there's a better safe area for the people at the community center, but also to still provide those parking spaces, as well as put those parking spaces within the right-of-way to also include a pedestrian sidewalk at the head of them.
So those parking spaces will be regulated through the transportation department in terms of its signage?
Correct, yep. So they're currently, there will be 2 accessible parking spaces and an access aisle, and then this area of East Boston currently doesn't have any signages for resident parking.
Telecommunication utilities, have they installed their telecommunication or whatever the...
No, so that will be part of our construction. So currently there's overhead wiring, overhead poles with wiring on them through Valor Road.
And we do see we are undergrounding all of that?
Correct.
It's not built?
Yeah, we're not replacing, the only poles we're replacing is for the new street lighting.
So there will be no overhead wires in the whole area?
Within Valor Road, correct.
Within that street?
Yep.
Other questions or comments on the widening and relocation?
Yeah, so for City's Council, related to the widening relocation and then the next item, the discontinuances, have we made any necessary adjustments to the current easements that might abut this right-of-way? So if we're changing the line of the right-of-way, have we...
These actions will do that. So accompanying a widening and relocation is a highway easement, and then the discontinuance order will be what formally removes those pieces and adds the other pieces.
If we are going to get the widening in fee or in easement,
Easement.
can we get it in fee?
We don't want it.
We don't want it in fee.
Other questions or comments on the widening and relocation? Amir Todd, members of the public? All right, I'll entertain a motion on this first item.
I'll make a motion to approve a joint petition by Trinity Orient Heights Phase 2 Limited Partnership and Boston Housing Authority for the widening and relocation of Valor Road as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
And is shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Widening, Relocation, Extension Plan of Street, Valor Road, Orient Heights, East Boston, Phase 1, one sheet dated May 4th, 2018.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Thank you.
Our next item is on a joint petition by Trinity Orient Heights Phase 2 Limited Partnership and the Boston Housing Authority for the discontinuance of any and all rights to travel the public may have had within two portions of Valor Road, a public way in East Boston, located generally at its northwesterly terminus, as well as generally at Faywood Road. This was new business on June 21st, 2018. This is as shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Discontinuance Plan of Street, Valor Road, Orient Heights, East Boston, one sheet dated May 4th, 2018.
Thank you, Commissioners. David Linhart with Coulson and Stores on behalf of the developer, Orient Heights Redevelopment, with other members of the team. And Deb is going to, they'll introduce themselves. Deb will explain what's happening with this petition.
Sienna DeSantis with Trinity.
Dean Papadimitra for the Boston Housing Authority.
Thank you. I'm Deborah Danik with Niche Engineering. Our previous request talked about realigning the roadway in order to make Valor Road meet complete street guidelines. When we do adjust the line and grade, we end up with a couple portions of the road that we need, that exist, that we want to discontinue so that they can be taken out of this roadway alignment. I did not mention previously, but the area associated with the widening and relocation from the previous request was about 16,800 square feet. When we look at these two little pieces of area that we're asking to discontinue, we're at about 3,800 square feet.
That space is going to be programmed how?
So the northwest space at the end of the cul-de-sac will be public amenities. There's going to be some sidewalk and benches and places just for people to walk around, because that's on the outside of a sidewalk. The place at the southeast near the end of Faywood Avenue, kind of yet to be determined. Definitely a sidewalk. The sidewalk will be in the public way, but there probably will be some building in a portion of that.
Are there any public transit? Are there any bus routes that go through this area?
There are bus routes that go along Waldemar Avenue and up Faywood Avenue.
Okay, so you do have on Faywood Avenue, right?
Yes.
Are there any bus shelters or bus stops or?
They're just bus stop signs. They're not shelters.
How do we get a bus shelter put here that can be coordinated?
I don't know that our sidewalks are wide enough here.
No. In the spot which you are graciously discontinuing.
Oh, is that at a bus stop?
No, it seems to be the entrance to that whole complex. Deborah, what we are trying to do is find out where the bus stop is and whether that location can accommodate a bus shelter.
Okay, we can look into that.
It is to the benefit of those who are concerned.
If we were to put a bus shelter there, we would want to discontinue it, we would want it in a public right of way, or they would want it in a public right of way. They don't want to own the bus stop.
Okay.
But
So I will say that the Faywood Avenue portion of this project happens in the reconstruction, and changes to that happen in phases 3 and 4. So we haven't asked for modifications to the Faywood Avenue streetscape. The line that we're showing there at the southern end of Faywood Avenue lines up with the existing right-of-way line that's there now. So we'll be matching the sidewalk widths through that area, which are about 7.5 feet wide, and do not have trees at this point.
My point is, in projects of this nature, we don't have that much on-street parking. We are relying on those to use public transportation, and to help those who use public transportation, the most comfortable usage of it. Thus, installation of shelters, and we have difficulty installing new shelters because there is no sidewalk width.
Right.
Okay. So take advantage of situations of this nature to maximize the benefit for those who we are trying to serve.
Yeah, in all honesty, we haven't fully designed that portion of the private side on phase 3, so it's definitely something we can consider looking forward, and talk to Amy and you about if we'd have to come back and do a notch in there to put a bus stop if it would fit.
Work with Ms. Cording, she will steer you in the.
I'm sorry?
Work with Ms. Cording, she will steer you in the right direction.
Okay.
There
I
is a
think that's
bus
something we
stop
can definitely look at.
Yeah, the bus stop is on Faywood, on the, that would be the west side of the intersection, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the existing bus stop is further down here.
It's at the point where there's a little park, right where the first building starts.
Yeah.
So, yeah, even closer to the intersection, yep.
Yeah, so, you know, when we've done the parking counts for the overall area existing and proposed, we've taken into account taking out parking spaces associated with the bus stop. So we would, if we needed to shift the bus stop, we'd obviously have to coordinate that with the MBTA as well.
Case of example, not trying to labor the point, Washington Street near West Roxbury and or Roslindale, another BHA project, we proactively created a notch to facilitate the bus stop. So
At Washington Beach, we did
that's the
that,
one.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So try and
And
bring
that
cement.
was also a Trinity project as well.
That's why I'm hoping that the light bulbs might go off here. Okay.
Is it correct to understand that we're talking about what should be considered as part of Phase 3, separate from what's happening in Phase 2?
That's my question as well. Will Phase 3 cover the west side of the intersection of Faywood and Valor?
Yes.
Or is it just this side of?
So Phase 2 stops approximately here, and when we get to Phase 3, it's this portion, and then also the
Right.
southern
So
side of
in
Valor that abuts Faywood.
You know, when the dust settles, make sure there's a bus stop with a shelter. How we get guys up to you?
But it might not be for a while because Phase
That's
3 is
fine,
not
you know.
funded yet. Or
I think ultimately
We'll add it
it's
to
gonna
our to-do list.
be- Does it make sense at the intersection of Valor and Faywood, or is that mid-block, so to speak, location by the park on Faywood the right location? However you want to come back to us in Phase 3, it'd be useful to know which of those locations is preferable to the residents who are there.
To have a shelter, that is the key part. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments on the discontinuance? Amy or Todd? Members of the public? Please.
My name is Kevin McCarthy. I'm with Trinity Financial, and I can assure you we are committed, including the bus stop, in the future phase of Orion Heights.
Kevin,
Not in
thanks.
this Phase 2, but in
Phase
Phase
3.
3, or the park that we're starting to talk about developing, which is right in this location.
Perfect. Kevin, thank you. At the intersection.
At that corner. Yep.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion on this item.
Make a motion to approve a joint petition by Trinity Orient Heights Phase 2 Limited Partnership and the Boston Housing Authority for the discontinuance of any and all rights to travel the public may have had within two portions of Valor Road, as written to the record by the chair and is shown in a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Discontinuance Plan of Street, Valor Road, Orient Heights, East Boston, one sheet dated May 4th, 2018.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Our next item is on a set of joint petitions by Trinity Orient Heights Phase 2 Limited Partnership and the Boston Housing Authority for the making of specific repairs within the following public ways in East Boston, consisting of curb realignment, roadway, sidewalk, and pedestrian ramp reconstruction, as well as new and relocated street lighting infrastructure, street trees, bike racks, storm drain infrastructure, landscaping, and driveway curb cuts. Locations are Valor Road on both sides at addresses number 1-70 from Faywood Road to its northwesterly terminus, and Faywood Road generally at Valor Road, and Waldemar Avenue on both sides, generally between McClellan Highway and Crestway Road. This was new business on June 21st, 2018. And this is as shown on two sets of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Specific Repairs Plan 1-70 Valor Road, East Boston, 3 sheets dated July 11, 2018, and City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Specific Repairs Plan 160-248 Waldemar Avenue, East Boston, 2 sheets dated May 9th, 2018. David.
Thank you, Commissioners. David Linhart with Goulston Stores, with the developer for Orient Heights redevelopment. And this is this last of our set of petitions for Phase 2. The first two related to the layout of the roadway network. And these petitions relate to the improvements, and they've been designed to city standard to allow acceptance. And with members of the development team, and Deb will speak further.
Sienna DeSantis with Trinity.
Dean Papadimitra for Boston Housing Authority.
And I'm Deborah Danik with Niche Engineering. Thank you very much for your approval of our first two petitions in order to lay out the road such that we can improve it in order to provide complete street standards and a little bit nicer streetscape for the people living in this area. As previously mentioned, the existing Valor Road, through the majority of it, is 40 feet wide with two-way traffic and parking. So it's a tight drive for people once people are parking to try and get in and out and through there. So by widening the right-of-way to 53 feet, we're now able to provide a complete street where we can give pedestrians an 8.5-foot sidewalk. It's cement concrete with street trees with open pits in it. We talked previously about taking the existing overhead utilities and grounding them, so those poles will be gone. There will also be new street lights on their own poles, meeting the Boston Streetlight Section requirements. This also will allow, a 36-wide paved road such that we can have 2 parking lanes on either side and 2 11-foot drive lanes. The other things that we're proposing as part of the change to Valor Road, mentioned a little bit earlier, there's existing head-in perpendicular parking as part of the road. So we're shifting that over so that we have a nicer area near the community center, which will remain. And it lets us do some park areas and some better plazas for people around here where they will be commuting. And that's shown on the second page of Valor Road. You can kind of see the location where we shifted the parking spaces basically west on the plan in order to have a more pedestrian-friendly area in front of the community center.
Is there a crosswalk from the parking to the community center?
There is, yep, there's a crosswalk right here. As previously mentioned, there are 2 accessible parking spaces there with the access aisle. It will all be ADA compliant. The other thing that we're proposing in coordination and discussions with Boston Water and Sewer Commission, with the reconstruction of this road, we will be replacing the existing water line. So that will be brand new piping and a little bit of a new location in order to work with the new roadway alignment. We're also doing some spot improvements for them for the existing sewer and drain mains that will remain in the roadway. A couple of the comments that we received last time to the Valor Road plans included, we do have some areas that people cannot park in along this road just when the fire trucks go through, just so that they can get access around the cul-de-sac and then kind of at the T intersection. So those areas have been striped, and we've also installed no parking signs showing those areas that people cannot park. We heard last time about, so as mentioned earlier, the roadway will be constructed by the private developer, and we'll be coming back for street acceptance from the commission that everything was installed to city standards, which it has currently been designed to. The suggestion to include a CMP within our project manual for the private contractor was heard. We're hoping that we have something that we can include in that when those documents go out in the next month.
You're hoping?
Yeah, so the documents do indicate that the contractor owns getting a traffic management plan approved through you in the city.
There's verbiage within the boilerplate that basically directs them to submit a traffic construction management plan.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're going to try and give them an example one, so that they may know some of the maybe non-standard requirements that would be.
Do we have a contractor for this now?
We do not have a contractor, no. It has not gone out to bid yet. So there is public funding associated with the construction of the road. And again, I'm sorry, when I say construction, it's only the phase 2 portion of the roadway. So it's about 2/3 of this road. So we will be doing a public bid, and we as the private development team will be doing a public bid process in order to get the contractor to construct the work.
So who's the bid through? Is it through Public Works?
It is not through Public Works, it's through
Public
Trinity.
Works, but through the BHA?
It's not through the BHA either, but it will be compliant with Chapter 3039M as a street project, but it will be run through Trinity.
Not quite sure how that would work. John, any idea relative to a public bid, basically constructing a city right away through a private vendor going through the public process?
I will look into it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll definitely.
Just on the other things that you mentioned from the transportation as I don't see a sign summary, standards, BTD standards for signs. I just see no stopping or no parking. You need to bring these plans up to a standard for a public bid.
Yep.
Meaning a sign summary sheet, annotation of, I gotta believe there's more signs than just no parking areas. Are they putting resident parking in here?
We haven't been directed to put resident parking in here, so we're not proposing it.
Yes. Sorry, anticipate what might happen in the neighborhood, please.
Okay, we'll check on that.
Because the other
We have not
streets in
heard that
this area
comment.
are all resident parking. So you might want to check with the Mayor's Office's Neighborhood Services rep for the area.
Yep,
We could be proactive and get that in there
yep.
for the residents, the new residents.
Yeah, we can definitely look into that. We didn't hear that comment back from them as part of this process, but we can reach out and ask that
It
specifically.
will definitely come up,
Okay.
be assured.
The other item that we heard from the new business hearing was Mr. Nelson's request to check into an easement for the water main. So the new water main that's getting replaced stays within the public way, but then cuts through the BHA property to hit down on Waldemar Avenue. So we're currently in the site plan approval process and are working parallel through the legal department to establish that
So we changed
easement.
location, so we need to adjust the easement language.
Exactly.
Make that recorded.
Yes, yep. We're working through that process.
Okay,
Yes.
I don't know the answer to this question. Amy, help me with this thing. So, on this street, banner, is there a gas line going down the street?
There is an existing gas line.
Verizon, Comcast?
Yes, both of those are on the overhead wires, and we've talked to them about grounding. We've had conversations with both Verizon and Comcast.
They need to be grounded,
100%, yep.
right? The street lights, you said they are going to be current street light standards. Do you have a sense of what that pole fixture might be?
Yes, we do have the specifications from the Boston Street Lighting section. They will be the acorns.
Excellent. On Baltimore Avenue, you
Yep.
are putting an asphalt berm on the north side
Yes.
because
So, and the caveat with this is that we're currently working to get the public funding for these improvements, and we're hoping that there's enough in that budget in order to do this work on the north side of Waldemar Avenue. But the north side of Waldemar Avenue is extremely atypical for a City of Boston street. It currently is not curbed, and basically the asphalt just ends at an edge. People in real life park along and straddle the edge of the asphalt, and then there's basically a dirt width between a fence that happens not even on the right-of-way, because Waldemar Ave, as you work your way east, it actually has a very steep slope going down. So the fence line is within the right-of-way. So our hope is that there will be funding and money enough to install an asphalt berm along here. We've coordinated with Zach in your office about what that design should be, and he mentioned that putting a slope berm and getting the asphalt in there is the thing that you guys would want to see in this location. The existing Waldemar Avenue is actually crowned, so existing stormwater right now, sheet flows kind of into the edge, much like, you know, a
north
country
side or
would,
the south side.
on the north side. So as
Obviously, because it is sloping in that direction. My concern is this area may attract more usage of that illegal parking on that asphalt sidewalk, coupled with the drainage challenges, may create a maintenance issue, which the city will have to come back and pick up. And
Yeah.
if we don't get around to it, your clients are going to have a more of an awkward time.
Yeah, so I can respond to the drainage. We're proposing to put in catch basins along there. So if this new curb goes in, there will be drainage installed such that that shouldn't be an issue. As to the parking and getting people, giving the idea that they can park here, you know, this, from what I understand, this is something that has been installed in another location and has worked the way that you guys want it to.
Do you have no parking signs?
We do not have no parking signs.
You can include them.
Okay, yeah.
That's why you need to submit a signage and marking plan.
Yes.
That we're gonna review prior to the going into the bid package, so that it's succinct and correct and per standard. So I expect that to come over from the team. You know, you could submit that to John DeBenedictis, the engineering director, get the review so we can have a comprehensive approval of that.
And I'm sorry, I was trying to remember what we had spoken about before. So there will be a signed summary in the construction documents going to the contractor. We didn't.
No, before the construction documents.
I understand that.
Approved.
Yep, so we'll send a plan through John DeBenedictis for approval for the signage and striping.
So in the spirit of protecting the new roadway, Para mentioned, you know, are all the utilities going in now? What about the potential for like the DAS antenna networks? As soon as we build this road, are they gonna come in and say, we gotta replace all the streetlights?
Because of what might happen further in the neighborhood?
Yeah, well, so I think that if you come, we'll discuss maybe putting some redundant conduits and electricity down there so that we're not digging this up, and we've got what we need in the ground, so that anything can come with that.
Okay, yeah, I'll touch base with you on that after.
Other questions or comments? Any thought? Members of the public? All right, I'll entertain a motion on this side.
I make a motion to approve a set of plans by joint petition by Trinity Orient Heights Phase 2 Limited Partnership and the Boston Housing Authority for the making of specific repairs within the following ways, as read into the record by the chair and as shown on a set of plans entitled the City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division Specific Repairs Plan 1270 Valor Road, East Boston, 3 sheets dated July 11, 2018, in City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division Specific Repair Plan 160 to 248 Waldemar Avenue, East Boston, 2 sheets dated May 9, 2018.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next item is on a petition by MEPT Harrison/Albany Block Owner LLC for the layout approval of a new private way open to public travel in Boston proper, known as Jeffrey Street, between East Canton Street and East Dedham Street, located generally southeast of Harrison Avenue. This was new business on June 21st, 2018, and this is as shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Layout Plan, Jeffrey Street, Private Way, South End, 1 sheet dated April 2018.
Good morning. Thank you for having us this morning. We're here for the Harrison Albany block to review the pedestrian easement specific repairs plan. This project is in the south end. It's a 3-acre site bounded by Harrison Avenue, Albany Street, East Canton, and East Dedham Streets. The total project consists of 650.
Could you be ever so kind and introduce yourself and your team?
Of course. Apologies. My name is Sam Reike from Lake and McCall Properties. I'm here with Chris Hotney from Niche Engineering, Jim Monteverde from CBT Architecture, and Brian Garrett from Halverson Landscape Design.
And also Josh Alston from Niche Engineering.
Thank you. Apologies. The total project consists of 650 units across the site in 3 buildings with a below-grade parking garage, which is 2 levels and will consist of up to 650 parking spaces. The first phase, which we are here to present to you this morning, includes the entire parking garage, which is 2 levels across most of the site, and Building 1, which is 300 rental apartment units and 6,000 square feet retail.
Is Building 1 closer to Harrison?
Closer to Harrison. Yep. That's it. So I'm going to let Josh from Niche speak to this specific plan.
So what we really have is 3 approvals in front of you. The first one is for the laying out of a private way open to public travel of Jeffrey Street, and that will be located between the existing Gambro building and the Building 1 on the project site, and that's located at this position closer to Harrison as far as the block. There is also specific repairs along Harrison, East Dedham, and East Canton on both sides of the street. Majority of those repairs are on the project side of the streets. And we also have pedestrian easements for the specific repairs along East Dedham, East Canton, and Harrison. The specific repairs that we're proposing include reconstruction of the sidewalks with concrete pavement, landscape strips between the sidewalk and the back of curb, and within that landscape strip we have the permeable pavers, street trees, and street lighting. We're updating the street lights along that strip, and we also have reconstructed pedestrian ramps at all of the crossings and bike racks. That's the major parts of the specific repairs. On the opposite side of the street, we are doing... Oh, going down. Okay. So the layout of Jeffrey has the same improvements as well. And within that layout, there's an easement for the public travel that we also have in front of you.
Jeffrey Street, as it aligns, does it align with any other cross streets across either East Canton or East Dedham?
No, there are no cross streets. It is just a single block cross.
Yep. My eyesight is not what it was. There seems to be some sort of a passageway that comes on.
Between Camden, East Camden and East Brookline. It seems like it lines up with one of the alleys on the far side.
It doesn't quite line up, so it's actually closest to the entry to a parking
So
garage.
does it show up in these plans? Because whoever took the efforts to draw the plans may not have done a better.
So, I can show you on here. So there's an alleyway back here, which is an alleyway that does connect over to East Brookline Street.
That alleyway is open to public travel? Is it open to public travel, that alleyway, or is it another private street? So you need to sort that thing out. Yeah, public hearing, right? You should have sorted this out earlier. What we are concerned about is you are introducing a private street that may have connectivity to other public streets or private streets across, and we just want to manage people cutting through your private street. It is in your best interest.
No. No, I don't know that one. We'll have to.
So we don't know the answer.
So it's in your best interest. Okay, otherwise you will make things challenging to the transportation department to manage public safety concerns over there when things don't align very nicely. Okay, so just keep that in the back of your mind. If you have the option of aligning it correctly without messing up your building footprint, okay, I'm going to assume it's going to mess up your building footprint. Yes, otherwise. But just be sensitive to people cutting through.
Yes, no, and this Jeffrey Street actually exists today as a purely private street. So we're opening it to public
Then
travel.
you should know whether anyone is going through. Then you will know whether anyone is cutting through.
Yeah, it is not a problem people cutting through today. It's largely used for ambulances for DeVita, one of our tenants.
Today there is Andrew Street,
That's
right?
opposite.
Today,
And
well,
Andrew Street goes away.
yeah, Andrew Street has been discontinued.
Yes,
Yep.
yeah, so that's why there's no cut-through traffic today.
Yeah, and Jeffries will maintain the connection to Gambro for the deliveries in the back of the building with ambulances, as Sam indicated. And it also provides access to the service area for Builder 1.
Amy, do you have any concerns about the way how Jeffrey Street is being laid out so that we want to prohibit the probability of this ever becoming a petition?
It will not become a public way.
And they know that.
Yes, it will be written into the
Written
Yeah.
into the deed. Wonderful.
Do you know the parking strip on Jeffrey? Approximately how many ambulances could that accommodate, lengthwise? Is it 4, 3, 2, 1?
I believe it's 5.
I believe it was 5.
So it can accommodate up to 5 ambulances in that parking lane. Okay.
Other questions or comments on the layout approval for Jeffrey?
The street lights you are putting on Jeffrey Street you are putting street lights, right?
Yes.
That is consistent with the neighborhood? Yes.
Yes. And it's just the same streetlights that we're putting
And
in.
no overhead wires, please.
No.
None.
We're going to address this in comparison moment, but other layout approval questions? Maybe your time? Members of the public? I'll entertain a motion on the layout approval for Jeffrey Street.
I'll make a motion to approve a petition by MEPT Harrison Albany Block Owner LLC for the layout approval of a new private way open to public travel in Boston proper known as Jeffrey Street. Is read into the record by the chair and is shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Layout Plan, Jeffrey Street Private Way, South End, one sheet dated April 2018.
Second. All in favor? So moved. Next item is on a petition by MEPT Harrison/Albany Block Owner LLC for the acceptance of pedestrian easements adjacent to the following public ways in Boston proper: Harrison Avenue on its southeasterly side, between East Canton and East Dedham Street; East Canton Street on its northeasterly side, generally southeast of Jeffrey Street; and East Dedham Street on its southwesterly side, generally southeast of Jeffrey Street. This is as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Pedestrian Easement Plan, Harrison Avenue, East Canton Street, East Dedham Street, South End, 4 sheets, dated July 5th, 2018. Tim, or Josh.
So we have similar improvements as what we have on Jeffries. So we have reconstruction of the sidewalks adjacent to the building one, and that construction consists of cement concrete sidewalks, landscape strip with permeable pavers, street lights, the street trees, resetting of the vertical granite curb along the entire length of the reconstruction, and reconstructing, or actually adding in some locations, pedestrian ramps for the crossings across the public and private ways. We also have reconstructing portions of the sidewalks on East Dedham and East Canton where the sidewalks have been damaged. So it's removing panels that have been damaged, driveway entrances, the aprons.
Before we get into specific repairs, can you just walk us through the pedestrian easements? What are the easements that you guys are pursuing as part of this, and what is the sidewalk width that will allow?
The sidewalk width that we have clear for public travel is less than 5 feet from the back of the landscape strip to the property line. So we are providing a pedestrian easement to provide the 5 feet clear from the back of the landscape strip. And the pedestrian easements also include the extensions of the pedestrian ramps as needed for the construction of those as well.
Building one, are both of the buildings, are they going to be purely residential? Is there any restaurant or commercial components to any of it?
There is some retail. It could be restaurant.
It could be restaurant?
You should consider where your restaurant would be and the location of a future sidewalk cafe.
Exactly.
Because if you plant trees and put in a bunch of streetscaping, it's going to really preclude the restaurant from having outdoor seating.
And
On new
where's it going to be? Because on new construction, we can't have choke points and sidewalks because sidewalk cafes become an afterthought.
Sure. Yep. So there are two possible locations: this corner here and this corner here. This corner here would be on the what we're calling pedestrian green.
We like that.
And this corner here we just set back and widen the sidewalk.
Great.
What's the width of the sidewalk on the sort of the second location? Not the pedestrian green, but the other location.
The corner of Jeffries.
Yeah, right.
I want to say it's 14 feet.
Great. 10 feet of concrete plus whatever some.
Yeah, it's an 8-foot sidewalk plus whatever the notch is, 5 feet.
Great.
Good job. And what's going to be the interim condition of, I know this is kind of jumping to specific repairs, but the interim condition of building 2. So you build building 1 now, the whole garage is in.
Yes.
And then what's that surface going to look like until you're ready to build that?
Yeah, so the area between the two buildings, what you see there, so that is a temporary pedestrian green. The area of the actual building 2, which I assume is your question.
Yeah, what is the interim condition look like?
So
is it a fence?
There will be a fence, and in our plans we have some temporary kind of landscaping, so gravel, to make it look aesthetically pleasing. But our hope is to go right into phase 2.
And you're going to limit access to that area until the building's built, so no one...
Safety-wise, yes. Yep.
Okay.
Other questions or comments on the pedestrian easements? Amy or Todd? Members of the public? All right, I'll entertain a motion on the pedestrian easements.
I'll make a motion to approve petition by MEPT Harrison Albany Block Owner LLC for the acceptance of pedestrian easements in Harrison Avenue, East Canton Street, East Dedham Street, as read into the record by the chair and shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Pedestrian Easement Plan, East Canton Street, Harrison Avenue, East Dedham Street, Public Way, South End, 3 sheets dated April 2018.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved.
Thank you.
Our next item is on a petition by MEPT Harrison/Albany Block Owner LLC for the making of specific repairs within the following public ways in Boston proper, consisting of curb, sidewalk, and pedestrian ramp reconstruction, as well as new and relocated specialty pavement, street lighting infrastructure, storm drain infrastructure, street trees, street furniture, bike racks, landscaping, irrigation infrastructure, and driveway curb cuts. The locations are Harrison Avenue on its southeasterly side between East Canton Street and East Dedham Street, East Canton Street generally between Harrison Avenue and Albany Street, East Dedham Street generally between Harrison Avenue and Albany Street. This was new business on June 21st, 2018, and this is as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Specific Repairs Plan, East Canton Street, Harrison Avenue, East Dedham Street, Public Way, South End, 10 sheets, date April 2018.
So we're back to the specific repairs on East Canton, East Dedham, and Harrison. And it's reconstructing those portions of the sidewalk directly adjacent to the Building 1 and also along Harrison. We're also doing curb cut for the service drive on the Albany Street end for access to the garage, the two-story garage, two-level garage. And that's the access to that garage. So we have curb cuts on both East Canton Street and East Dedham Street. That is private. And then back to the specific repairs across the street, we're doing miscellaneous repairs of damaged sidewalk sections and replacing street lights with updated current city standard.
Josh, is this block within the South End Landmarks District or any of the historic? No?
It is not in the district proper. It does have landmark review though, and it has been reviewed and approved by landmarks.
You're not, are you proposing any brick sidewalks of any nature within the four sides? Any bricks?
Only the pavers, yes, correct.
Just the permeable strip. Yep.
So again, prior, as the last hearing, need a sign legend, BTD sign review, pavement markings, meter layout, you need a plan. Has that been developed yet as requested in the last hearing?
We spoke with the traffic engineer and they, Howard Stein Hudson, and we spoke with Guy. And the plan is that we can either amend the CMP or add to the CMP the plan, or just submit a separate plan to BTD for review and approval. But that's what we discussed with Guy, so he's aware and he's gonna coordinate that with you.
Okay, so I think at this point, generally it's not the norm, that we'll include that as an addenda to the construction management plan.
Okay.
Generally, this stuff should be up front during the Article 80 planning process and presented here as part of that. But at this point, let's work it through the construction management plan, work with Howard Stein Hudson, get that plan cranked in, get it to your contractor once it's approved, so he knows what the scope that's required before he leaves that job site.
Correct.
Okay?
Yep.
Thank you.
Any maintenance agreements for the record executed in the works sometime next year?
Same comment on the antennas. Are we going to be switching out streetlights and fixtures that are newly installed for antennas and helping avoid that?
100%. You guys should contact me to get our new street lighting standards that will allow for gas antenna attachment and prevent you from having whatever you do to get ripped up as soon as you move in.
Okay, yeah, we can coordinate that.
Yep.
And then my memory was just jogged. This is the project that had, let's say, a rapid demolition of a building that came to the ground quickly. And as part of that, I required some vibration monitoring data to be submitted, which was during the supportive excavation phase of the project. But I can't remember if pre and post CCTV of sewers and drains in the area were required at that time.
It was required, and we have, I believe we've submitted those.
So you have submitted post-construction CCTV video?
No, construction is, so we are just now starting excavation.
You're just starting.
Yeah, so slurry wall is complete. Maybe
So
we're
you have
50%.
submitted pre-construction
Yes,
CCTV?
correct.
Yes.
I'll confirm that we completed them, and I believe we submitted them to Boston Water and Sewer. I
did
confirm
get vibration monitoring data during the demolition phase after the building came down.
Yep.
But I don't know if we got
Let me
you to
follow
check
up on that. We definitely haven't. And if it didn't go to you for any reason, I can get you to.
Great.
No problem.
Just from a separate note, quality of life issue in the neighborhood, the construction's gone pretty well. One complaint that we've been receiving is the cleanliness of the streets. If you can make sure that your contractor is getting that mechanical sweeper out there, staying vigilant on making sure the streets around the area are clean.
Sure.
But otherwise, I want to, the construction gone very, very well so far.
Appreciate it.
Other questions or comments on specific repairs? Amy or Todd? Members of the public? All right, I'll entertain a motion on the specific repair plan.
I'll make a motion on a petition by MEPT Harrison Albany Block Owner LLC for the making of specific repairs within Harrison Avenue, East Canton Street, East Dedham Street, as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Specific Repair Plan, East Canton Street, Harrison Avenue, East Dedham Street, Public Way, South End, 10 sheets dated April 2018.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Thank you. Very much.
Our next item is on a petition by Eversource Energy for a grant of location to install new electrical transmission line infrastructure within the following public ways in Charlestown: Alfred Street, generally southwest of Dexter Street, and Dexter Street, generally southeast of Alfred Street. This was new business on June 21st, 2018, and this is as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Grant of Location Plan, Alfred Street, 12 sheets dated June 2018.
Morning. My name is Dwayne Boyce, Eversource, Project Manager. To my right, John Holy, Community Relations. To my left, Mike Sutton, VHB. We were before the board on June 21st to present the project, seek local permission to install new 115 kV line. Since that point, we've resolved all the outstanding items with Boston Water and Sewer. They've signed off on it, and we're here to seek approval.
How about the other issues? The issues that were brought up with the new business, coordination with Alfred Street construction?
Yep.
Casino, all
Yes.
that? The other phase, the other project you have outside of this project?
So
it's in the same area?
So
That's the big thing.
So regarding the casino, we have weekly coordination meetings with the casino where we discuss the scope of work. We'll continue to coordinate closely with them on a weekly basis and as items.
I gotta be honest, I have not got that feedback from the project, that has been occurring. And it's constantly coming up that there's coordination issues. And we're concerned that we're putting a new roadway in here, spending millions of dollars, and it's not being coordinated. I may be wrong, but I have not got that feedback. That not only this project, but your other transmission project, it basically hasn't.
So, Dwayne, Eddie, if I could speak to that. So we were asked to realign our Mystic to Woburn, the 115 kV line. So we're in the process of doing that. We just filed with the Energy Facility Siting Board. I believe it was a letter of support for that was signed off by the city for the project change.
This is ISO, right?
This is the Mystic to Woburn line. This is the other project I believe you're speaking of, right?
Correct.
Right.
So the letter was signed off by the city by who?
It was being handled by Jim Galooly, by Jim. So, you know, I've heard some of the stuff that you're talking about at these WIN meetings. We've had a reporter there that's been asking questions of us. And you know, I mean, I feel that we're always well coordinated with the city when we're doing these projects. There's a lot going on in Sullivan Square. Obviously, we have distribution work. You know, there's also a request that had come up recently from Tetra Tech about moving a 345 kV line. So as we always do, we're gonna work with the city, you know, to make sure we're not messing up your projects.
The specific concern is at 345.
Yeah.
Curbs are being set right now. So that's the problem, is that we're setting curbs, we're pouring sidewalks, and it's not designed or coordinated, in my opinion. I haven't seen that.
So the 345, I was aware of the 115 kV. The 345 is something that I just became recently aware of.
Because it runs through the transportation parcel.
Yeah.
The parking lot is right now. And Dan Nuzzo, who basically manages that and has a contractor out there,
Yeah.
hasn't got any information on it.
Okay.
So it's a concern.
Right.
Overall.
Yeah, so we'll make sure that, we get all that information to Dan and that we're well coordinated for the future piece of the Rutherford Ave Sullivan Square.
Because those are the future development parcels.
Right, right.
There's both the future design, but there's also the current construction, the work that's happening in Sullivan Square, the work on the Alpha Street Bridge. How you talk through how that coordination is happening, how we make sure that we're doing all three of these construction projects, the current Rutherford Ave, Sullivan Square work, the Alpha Street Bridge work, and this work in a way that is going to work for all the residents of Charlestown and Everett. And
Right. So the sequencing is a little bit different, right? So we have permits.
So for the project on the Everett side of the bridge, we have permits, we have contractor that's mobilized on site currently. We have, in anticipation of this effort, we have done our dig safe requests, street opening permits are drafted up, ready to go. So those will be submitted as soon as we get approval, and the contractor has been notified that they need to mobilize and get that portion of the work done immediately, and we've made provisions for that.
That sounds good. I can give the timeline that makes, like, I want to make sure that we're sort of scheduling each of these things in a way that...
Yeah, so just to kind of further Dwayne's point, the idea is that we're mobilized to do that work right now. We've been working with Wynn and their contractors. The idea is to get this done and out before the Alfred Street project kicks off in the fall. That's the urgency. That's why we've been pushing with PIC to get in front of you folks and get things
Albert Street, what project do you mean?
The bridge project itself.
In your opinion or the knowledge which you have, when is that project going to start? The bridge project?
Our understanding was October of this year.
No, it's going to be done much earlier than that.
Okay.
Okay, so again, not wanting to labor the point, you need to talk to the city agencies, transportation, public works. John, please put this thing together. Otherwise, we will have one of two choices. Postpone this hearing on the board, or it will get voted, it's not going to go anywhere.
I'll make sure it gets pulled together.
Because right now, there are just too many projects that we need to make sure that it is properly coordinated, because that bridge project is going to be a bit of a challenge. And the Lower Mystic group, there's a bunch of people that are equally concerned about lack of coordination. So we don't want to portray or fall into that trap. So we appeal to you, I'm trying to say it politely, get that meeting pulled together so whatever this commission decides will be properly executed.
Understood.
And that not only goes for this
Yes.
motion here.
Yeah.
That's the other two projects,
Understood.
right?
Yep.
There's too much happening over there, John, on both sides.
No, I know, I understand that.
It is best that if we are all on the same page, which we always try to do, and you
Right.
have been extremely helpful on that front. Just help us to bring that thing to a closure.
Will do.
So I just want to clarify the timelines. It looks like the Everett side of Alfred Street, that side of the water, is happening now.
That is correct.
For Sullivan Square and Rutherford Ave, Tetra Tech is a central hub of information. So I just met with Tetra Tech this week. They've got the new 115 kV from Woburn on the layout. They've got the 345 kV conflict with the tunnel on the layout, which I think is your next meeting with them.
Yeah.
But they are the central hub. Everybody has to be reporting to them because they are the ones that hold the comprehensive base plan. Okay.
Yep. Yep. I know we talked about that when we met with you, Mike.
Yeah, so I met with them
Yeah.
earlier this week, and all that's been updated since the coordination meeting with DOT. So they're moving fast. So that part is looking better.
The bridge project is the wild card because we will have to shift traffic completely to one side and to the other side, and that shock wave is going to impact your ability to do much anything in the. Thank you. Okay. So, and you please.
So as always, we'll work closely to ensure that everyone.
The clock is sort of running out of days and months.
So that's a meeting that should occur sooner than later.
I'll make sure that happens.
That's with me.
Yep. Yes.
And him.
Yep, right.
And him.
Yep.
Please.
Yep, I'll take the lead on that.
Amy, just make sure that this, irrespective of what the commission may do within the next 90 seconds, okay?
Yep.
Is not post-processed until we've had a chance to figure out what is it that we are collectively subjecting to the good citizens of Boston.
Okay. Yep.
Other questions or comments on this grant location? In your Todd? All right, members of the public? All right. I'll entertain a motion on this item, again, sort of contingent upon that coordination meeting that occurs ASAP with the Public Works Transportation team.
I'll make a motion to approve a petition by Eversource Energy on a grant of location for Alfred Street and Dexter Street as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, grant of location plan, Alfred Street, 12 sheets dated June 2018, with the provision that a coordination meeting occur ASAP.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll go talk to Aaron now.
Moving on to new business. Our first item is 125 and 133 Sumner Street, Clippership Lane, Monsignor Albert A. Jacoby Road, Lisbon Street, East Boston, abandonment, layout approval, pedestrian easement, specific repairs on a set of joint petitions by Wind Development Company, Lend Lease Clippership Wharf LLC, and the Boston Housing Authority.
Good morning. My name is Dean Papadimitriou, counsel to the Boston Housing Authority. We're the co-petitioner for this petition.
Good morning. My name is Drew Colbert. I'm a senior project director at Wind Development. We're a co-petitioner for this project. Wind and its partner Lend-Lease were designated by the Boston Housing Authority to rebuild the. Oh, sorry.
Sorry. Hi, Vita Shklovsky with Lend-Lease.
Wind and Lend-Lease were designated to redevelop a 20-unit existing Boston Housing Authority property, commonly referred to as Clippership Apartments, in East Boston, bounded by Clippership Lane and Sumner Street, and then Father Jacoby Road. The site exists today as 4 buildings with 20 apartment units that is going to be replaced with 22 affordable rental apartments, 16 market rate condominiums, and 14 income restricted for sale condominiums. The project, like I said, has received its approvals from the BPDA and is working through the process of getting approvals for changes to Clippership Lane, Father Jacoby Road, and a new private way that will be open to public travel that is going to be designated Lisbon Street. I'll like to turn it over to our civil engineer, Bill Maher.
Thanks, Drew. For the record, my name is Bill Maher with Niche Engineering. And just to kind of go in order per the agenda here for abandonment, we're looking to...
Excuse me, sorry. Can you give an overview as to your project rather than going specific? This is new business.
Okay, sure.
Like the locus maps.
The project is...
Next time have a slightly larger locus map.
I'm sorry?
Next time have a slightly larger locus map for a project overview.
And like you should have a rendering, etc., all that type of
Because
stuff.
you're getting into the weeds of the project without giving us an overview of what you are trying to do. You're planning on abandoning streets, laying out new streets, overview.
Correct. The overview is we're looking to abandon one roadway commonly known as Clippership Lane as a private roadway. We're looking to construct a new street as a private way with public access to be known as Lisbon Street that will run from Sumner Street opposite Harvey Street to the end of Clippership Lane at this location. We are looking to do specific repairs along Sumner Street and Clippership Lane and pedestrian easements along Clippership Lane, Public Way, and Sumner Street to accommodate requirements for sidewalk widths and so forth.
I have such a photographic memory of that verbal experience. Now,
Can we have a rendering of the project for the public hearing?
We can certainly bring that, and a large locus map.
My apologies.
please continue.
So here on Clippership Lane, the private way, we're looking to abandon it. Currently, Clippership Lane, the public way portion is on the easterly side of the site, and you can see the Albert Jacoby Road. We've got this intersection there, and per our discussions with Amy and Todd, the request was to abandon Clippership Lane rather than having a straight Clippership Lane crossing over Jacoby Road and then another Clippership Lane, and this road, this abandoned roadway, would then be known as Jacoby Road from its cul-de-sac to the east all the way to the end at Carlton Wharf.
So the piece that's being abandoned is a street, will remain a street, we're really just changing the name.
change, right?
Correct. Thank you. Thank you.
So that we're not at an L.
Yes.
See that
Intersection of Clippership and Clippership.
Exactly.
And here on Jacoby Road, the new extension of Jacoby Road, the new roadway means we're proposing some public improvements with utilities, storm drainage, catch basins, some improvements to pedestrian ramps. This intersection with New Lisbon Street, we're looking at a raised intersection there. We brought some of the permitting discussions that we had between conservation.
Why are you raising the intersection?
Well,
Just because you thought it was.
Just for elevation wise, because we're
Resiliency.
So is that, Lisbon being the private way, but where it intersects where the raised table's going, is that in the public way?
no, that's all private way as well. So the idea is that this will not be turned over to the city of Boston. It will be private.
I would like to add that the new private way open to public travel, Lisbon Street, connects to the existing street grid in Maverick Square. And so it provides a view corridor and access directly from the neighborhood to the waterfront. And where that raised table is, it is a direct access to the new waterfront parks that are being built out as part of the Clippership Lend-Lease project, and is to encourage access from the waterfront deep into the neighborhood. It's almost
So part of the story in the construction of Clippership Wharf, the 7-acre site at the harbor front, was a series of conversations with different city agencies that essentially wanted to recreate that view corridor back into the street grid. And so our working with this project, redeveloping the BHA site, was this bigger conversation about urban design. So the demolition of existing buildings to recreate that street that used to exist 50, 60 years ago was an idea that had been vetted with a lot of agencies in the last 5, 10 years.
Is that Paris Street that it will line up with?
That would be Harbor Street.
Harbor Street, so it's basically an extension of Harbor, it will now be Lisbon Street?
Exactly.
Right, and so the naming of Lisbon Street is because the numbering of Harv begins at its intersection at Sumner. So that's why it's not called the Harv Street Extension or Harv Street.
Will that be a BHA roadway?
It will be a privately owned roadway that will be open to public travel.
Is that going to be per the ground lease?
Yeah, per the ground lease from the Housing Authority to the developer.
Take this in the context which I'm going to say, even though Boston seems to be a waterfront city or a city by the ocean, there is very limited public-owned streets that give Bostonians access to see the waterfront. Okay, it's a very sad point. Throughout Dorchester, throughout our waterfront areas, there's very little city-owned public access. So, however this gets managed, we want to improve city public streets where your regular people can actually enjoy the waterfront rather than going through private streets that are under private control, irrespective of whether it is coming from a BHA land lease.
Yes, and well, opening up this street is an important part of it, and I will also mention that they did just receive their Chapter 91 license, which an important part of it is having public amenities for the public in a waterfront area.
And there's an extensive harbor walk that goes around Clippership Wharf, and just because it's privately owned doesn't mean that we are, of course, going to just limit to the members of, these two buildings or the members of Clippership Wharf residents.
And the BHA also has a Lewis Mall. It's It is a BHA property, but it is open to the public, and there's an extra entry point to the Maverick T station right there. So that's really just a block away from where this is taking place.
To Dean's point about our receipt of a Chapter 91 license, some of the public benefits that are going to be included in this project include a 52 bike storage, a publicly accessed bike storage room with 52 bike stations, as well as a potential retail location at the corner of the new Lisbon Street and Sumner, as well as a publicly accessible community room that is going to be facing the waterfront at the corner of Father Jacoby Road and Lisbon Street.
So when we talk about a ground lease, so it's land that basically is Boston Housing Authority that we're building a roadway on. Is that correct, right?
Yeah, so...
Check. So we're building a roadway on a BHA city parcel roadway, open to public travel. So let's say there's an accident there, somebody gets hurt. BHA?
So it would be, BHA would own the fee, and it's going to be a 99-year ground lease. So the
liability falls on WIN, which would be the holder of the ground lease.
They're required to indemnify the BHA.
So would you ever envision this becoming a Boston regular street? Because as we've taken over other BHA streets,
It can't, it's filled with infiltration, there's no, like, they've got all sorts of private stuff underneath the street.
Yeah, there are infiltration galleries under the street, we wouldn't allow that in the private way. And also, to speak to that point, you guys need to supply an agreement, because these are two different parcels, I think, that share one infiltration. So there needs to be an agreement in place that says, yes, we legally agree that we combined own this and we combined are responsible for the maintenance of this.
Okay, correct. That has been submitted to Phil.
Great job.
So one of the things with the raised table, as we do as part of the checklist, emergency services, fire department, police, and EMS response, and any comments, have you solicited that from public safety?
We've spoken with the fire department way back in the beginning of the urban design of this project, and they were actually the ones to tell us how wide that street, the private roadway, can be for their access. And
that's not what Mr. Hisbert is asking. It's not the width, it's a raised table.
Raised table with the thousands of gallons they have in their fire trucks in responding in an emergency situation. They generally have much concern with these raised tables, so you need to reach out to them for specific comment on it. That goes for EMS too. EMTs, Boston Police.
Could you close that loop? Because even though it's a private street,
open
to public travel. So we said line and grade, but these interesting elevation things, because at the end of the day, this is waterfront area. We are not going to have gate control. People are going to think it is public streets. So let's be prudent about how the roads are being designed for the emergency services, the public, and all those.
And I'm still concerned about the terminology about it being a private way when it's BHA, which is a public agency. You know, we need to get a little bit more clarification on that.
Private way, open for public travel, private way is for private proprietary interest, so the public is responsible.
All right, so you've talked about sort of the essentially extending Jacoby Way, not physically, but extending it by renaming Clippership Lane, actually extending Harv Street sort of down to the water to a raised, sort of essentially a tabled intersection where a new Lisbon Street would meet Jacoby Way. What are the other changes that you guys are looking to make in the street grid? And then we can get into specific repairs and those points.
Well, again, this is just Lisbon Street from Sumner Street to Jacoby Road, opposite Highway Street. So this roadway would be constructed to city standards with sidewalks, curbing, pavement. But as was mentioned earlier, there are private utilities to service these two buildings within this roadway, so it will remain as a private roadway. But some of the other improvements along Sumner Street and along Clippership Lane, repair to the sidewalk, new street trees, curbs, and curb cuts, street lighting, new handholds with cork covers at the surface, and so forth, along Coopership Lane and along Southern Street.
Bill, do you want to go back one slide? I think it's important to point out the elevation of Lisbon Street that is demonstrated on the plan. As you can see, it crowns at the middle of the site. This is a resiliency design feature to minimize any storm surge into the neighborhood, so that these buildings, the ground floor elevation is built significantly above the floodplain, and we make sure that we had the road table as well, acting as a barrier to any storm surge infiltration in the neighborhood.
What height are those raised? Do you know the elevation?
First floor living elevation is 22 and a half, and the roadway is, I think, do you have it, Bill?
This is about 22.
Okay. And maybe we can help coordinate this. If you can just connect with the folks who are doing the Climate Ready East Boston work, and maybe you've already done this, just to see how this connects with what they project storm surge and sea level rise to be. If you've already done that, then.
Yes.
We know about that.
Okay, great. I just want to make sure that that this design sort of reflects what they project. And maybe that's already been done.
Yeah, we've kind of gone through all of the in-process projects in East Boston with Rich McGinnis to figure out what can be done, even with the ongoing construction.
Great, and this meets the standards that they would want.
This is as high as we can get this, I think.
Great.
Just a couple more questions. Just getting back to public safety, and I know the question's gonna come. So it's a private way, owner fee, Boston Housing. Is Boston Housing Authority police gonna basically police this area? I hate to ask it, but it's gonna come up.
Well, no, because it will not be considered a BHA development at that point, and I also don't know what the future deployments of the BHA police will be.
Right. So have there been any discussion with Captain McCormick out at A7 relative to this area,
Like public safety?
Public safety area.
There've been a lot of discussions about public safety in the area. There've been various incidents that have been addressed and ongoing discussions about it.
We have static cameras set up throughout the site, and we'll make sure we bring that plan, the security plan, to the captain, just for a sign off and approval to make sure that there's, call it, safety through design, that his plan, his department and precinct sign off on.
I appreciate that. I think that.
In addition, there will be lighting on the street.
So if that lighting becomes smart lighting, then they can add police cameras without anything but showing up the cameras. So maybe that'll get us both.
But have that conversation with the captain.
Yeah.
We will.
Well, what else do you want to walk us through?
Along Clippership Lane and Sumner Street, I mentioned before, we're providing a pedestrian easements on the property to provide the minimum width of a 5-foot wide sidewalk on Clippership Lane, and at the request along Sumner Street to have it 8-foot wide, basically in back of the existing street trees. Which is like I guess a common width in that area there.
I think you mentioned this in your presentation or your opening statements. The number of units we are speaking of are how many units?
Sure. So Lisbon Street is going to divide
in totality.
Yeah. So totally, there's 52 total units.
52 or are rental?
No, 22 are rental, 100% affordable. And then there's the separate condominium building, of which 14 are income restricted and 16 will be market rate. So there's 36 total income restricted units.
Give me a second. Yeah. So the for sale ones, not the rental units, are going to be built on a property that has a 99-year lease?
So that part will be conveyed in fee.
Right. So
yes.
One more time, when you come for the public hearing, let us understand which of the streets about the market rate units and which are the ones which about rental units.
Yeah. I think it would be helpful if we bring a schematic that shows
be so
The
helpful
building
for us to
on each side, yes.
understand what is going
Yeah,
on.
because half of it will be conveyed in fee. That will be for a condominium. It just
Because
would not be.
I would like to, sorry for keep interrupting, but the lack of this information is difficult for me to assess whether the market rate units are facing the water, the other side, where the rental units are, and how this is all going to play out, including the need for on-street parking, off-street parking, where parking is going to be, the height of your units. This information is not forthcoming at this point. Okay? So, your public hearing may be a little bit challenging because when we see that information, we may ask you a series of questions that may delay the vote on a public hearing. It's a very interesting, complicated project by the waterfront.
Yes.
Okay, so.
Understood.
Okay.
Other questions or comments?
Construction, when do you propose to start construction?
We'd like to start construction at the beginning of first quarter 2019.
19. So your first phase should be complete?
We expect a 14 to 16 month construction period, so we'd be complete by Q1, Q2 of 2020.
So there's a project out there now, correct?
The existing housing, 19 of the 20 units have been relocated.
So my question is there going to be an overlap with the construction, which it doesn't look like it's going to be?
Highly unlikely.
I would commend the project for providing robust bicycle facilities. You're one block from a major transit stop. You're not far from Central Square. You got a public park, the Preston Park's there, and the entrance to the Boston Greenway is right there. So very smart to provide bicycle solutions, public bicycle solutions.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments? Amy or Todd? Members of the public? All right, there's a number of things to cover. Is 2 weeks enough time? Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, great. I will see you in 2 weeks on July 26th. Thank you so much. Our next item is 100 Sudbury Street, Bowker Street, Hawkins Street, Boston proper, widening, relocation, and extension, specific repairs, projection license, on a set of joint petitions by Bullfinch WPB1, owner LLC, and the Boston Planning and Development Authority, and the City of Boston Police Department. Morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Am I okay to start?
Please.
So thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Appreciate you giving us the opportunity to be here. My name is Tom O'Brien. The name of our company is the HYM Investment Group. I'm joined here today by Dino DeFranzo, who does work with us in the community, as well as John Hurley, who's part of our team at HYM, Lisa Chow, who's part of the engineering team with us, Peter Kuharski, who's with Golston Stores, who's our attorney. Also joined by Eileen Brophy of the BPDA, who's a co-petitioner on this with us, as well as in the room is Officer Robert Luongo, who as well is part of our co-petitioning effort here. So if I could just give a quick update on the project and then talk about the specifics of what it is we're here to do. The project, John, if you would just throw that first one up there. You recall that we are in the business of trying to redevelop the ugliest building in Boston, the Government Center garage. Yes. It's a close finish for whichever one would be chosen ugliest. And so this project is about the first building, which is the residential building that John's pointing to right now. So we call that WPB1, which is West Parcel Building 1. That project is now underway and has been the subject of an extensive permitting effort. We began the permitting on this project beginning in probably 2011. We first received full permits in 2013. We began this project approximately a year or so ago. We're in the ground with it coming out of the ground now. The other 5 buildings John will just point to is there's an office building on the far side, which is 1 Congress Street. which we're endeavoring to try and get underway now. Once we complete that building, we must demolish the garage, the half of the garage that goes out over Congress Street. Once that happens, then we can complete the other 4 buildings. So there's a building on the west side, which we call WPB 3, which is a residential building, and then 3 other buildings on the east side, a hotel and condominium building, an office building, and a retail building, all of which will frame a new retail corridor that will create a very, very different and awesome entrance into the Bullfinch Triangle area. So this is a big, complicated project, but we're really, that means if it's big and complicated, it's kind of perfect for our team. So as I said, we've been after this for a long time. You recall that we did receive PIC approval for some of the basic work that we had to do, and we're back amending those approvals and doing some different pieces here. There are 3 basic actions that we're seeking today. One is for WPB1, an action regarding specific repair, and I'll run through some of the details of that in a second. The other is a canopy projection license, so we need to add a canopy to an entrance for the condominiums at the top of the building. And then we're also working on the Bowker Street and Action 3, Bowker Street widening and relocation and extension. So Bowker Street is the street that is immediately behind the garage. That Bowker Street widening really has to do with the creation of a park, which is in part why we're here with the police department and with the BPDA. So if I could just quickly just run through the specific repair items. The first basic one is to work through a revised entrance on Sudbury Street. So the Sudbury Street entrance that originally existed, which was thought at first to be a retail entrance, is now a condominium entrance. And so that door goes from a single door to a double door on that side. We're also expanding the drop-off zone for a slight amount toward the loading dock. And those are all adjustments that we've obviously reviewed extensively with not only the city officials responsible, but also with the community. The drop-off area, in fact, was suggested for us by the community as something that might help assist with the traffic on Sudbury Street. The other pieces on that specific repair, if I could just run through, and I don't know, John, if it's helpful to kind of look through some of these. These are on the Bowker Street pieces. So these include the reconfiguration of the kind of existing BPD dumpster. There's a Boston Police Department dumpster which exists kind of behind our building, as John's pointing to right now, and we need to kind of reconfigure that and sort of put that in a different spot. We also are reconfiguring some of the street trees along the sidewalk in front of the condos, I believe it is, John, just to kind of account for the new entrance there on that piece. And then back to the Bowker Street piece, there's a slight ramp revision in which the ramp location is slightly different to accommodate the park that we're building at the base of Bowker Street. I think I went through the street trees, the canopy. John, if you could just point to the location of the canopy. The canopy will be right at the front entrance of the condominium building, which is right there. And so that canopy will mark the entrance for the condominiums, which will be built at the top of the building. And then I think the last piece is the Bowker Street widening, which is part of the BPDA, co-petitioning with the relocation, the widening, and the extension of that piece of it. Again, these have been extensively reviewed with both city staff as well as with the community. Happy to answer any questions, unless, John, if I left anything out.
Tom.
Yes.
Great to see you here.
Warrior Power. Nice to see you.
The rough timeline for this work, I know this is a very exciting, complicated, ambitious, iconic project. Roughly, are we looking at 5 to 10 years, 7 to 10 years for the dust to settle and everything to be done?
We're really hopeful that it's going to be sooner than that. We're working now. The next tower, the office tower, which is a 1 million square foot tower, is a big, complicated project. But we are extensively working on that right now. We're competing for a tenant right now in Boston. And if we can land that tenant, and there are other tenants behind them, frankly, but if we can land that tenant, we're going to build that building. And so, honestly, we'll be back before you relatively soon to begin the process, which is a big, complicated project, to begin the demolition of that garage. So we're really excited about it. It is complicated, but it's a total game changer for downtown Boston. And so it's an honor to work on it. And so that's our next big objective. We will be back here, I think, relatively soon to do that.
Do you know how counts of these buildings yet?
Yes. So the residential building, which is currently underway, is 480 feet tall, so 45 stories. The office tower is 528 feet tall, again, approximately 45 stories, in part because the floor-to-floor ceiling. Yeah, exactly. Then the residential tower in front of that is approximately 299 feet tall. And then across the street, the hotel condo is 157, I think, John. And the office building is around the same height, about 150. The retail building in the front is a little shorter. That's about 60 feet, 70 feet tall, I believe. The total FAR, excluding the parking, is 2.3 million square feet.
So on the Sudbury building face, or the 44-foot wide driveway entrance, that is both for loading and resident parking, or is
Not for loading, so that it's going to be for parking. Yeah, the loading is in a different section of the building, John, if you want to just, yeah, there you go. So that's loading for that building.
Yeah.
And then the loading for, just in case you're concerned about this, the loading for the office building is actually on the other side of Bowker Street as well. Yeah, so that's how we did it. We had to put the loading there on Sudbury Street because that provides elevator access into that building, that residential building. So we worked really closely with BPDA staff to go through a design process of that to make sure that that loading door looks appropriate. Obviously, this is a $450 million building that we're building on Sudbury Street. We want that loading door to look great, and so we've spent a lot of time on that.
And you create some additional areas for sort of TNC pickup, taxi pickup, drop off.
Yes, yes. So the drop-off is meant to be for both the condominiums and the apartments, but there will be a doorman out there to kind of keep the traffic moving along and make sure that people aren't lingering there. But that's it's a needed piece for the building. It was really the only place where there's room because of the way the lobby works. It's a tight site, as you can see from that drawing. We're building the building right up against the back of the garage, and so it's a very tight site to make work.
And again, I mean, what the Boston Transportation Department strives to do is get that activity on the project. Unfortunately, with the constraints that were here, wasn't ability, but we're working still with him right now on the other buildings to see what we can do to get that. It's an issue, but we're working our ways through it. Many meetings. A lot of fun.
Yeah.
Sometimes not fun.
I'm sure there'll be more. No, we've enjoyed a great working relationship with all the city departments, particularly with the transportation department, and I think together we've come up with some better solutions. Yeah, which is great.
Tino, good morning.
How are you, my friend? How's everything?
Very good. You know what I'm going to say, right? So we need to make sure for the public hearing, LMI has language specific to the restoration of the sidewalk and all surface features of the sidewalk related to the eventual replacement of the water main, whatever that may be.
That's the agreement that we
Yes.
keep the water main more or less.
And
So-
I need a copy of it.
Okay.
Thank you.
I will work with Amy to get that to you before the next hearing.
Yep. I might not be present at the next hearing. So for new business, I will say that I am extremely excited about this project, as I think everyone in Boston probably is. I would just lobby my efforts for, things that BPA and transportation are certainly going to want of activation of the street. How does everybody get to a Bruins game on the Orange Line? Where are they going to be popping out? Right here. So bicycle accommodations and streetscape features. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for downtown Boston. I know that.
So I just had three quick things for that. So first of all, for bike accommodations, we're going to have, I think, the largest bike storage facility in the city. There's a spot in here for 800 bikes. Hopefully we'll fill it, but that's a lot of bikes. On the Orange Line, we will not only maintain the existing Haymarket entrance and exit, but we're going to improve that. Remember, that existing Haymarket exit, it's underneath the garage.
Right.
That does not have a cover. The garage covers it. So as we remove the garage, we'll need to create a new cover on top of that, which we intend to do, make that a very nice design. We're working we actually have agreements in place with the MBTA to do that work and to replace that cover now. And so, we embrace that. The buses will continue there are two bus lines that stop at that Haymarket, at our portion of Haymarket Station. Yeah. We'll continue to retain those bus lines there, and we've worked very closely with the T to maintain that active spot. We embrace it. We want the people flowing out of there from the Green Line and the Orange Line.
I'm excited for the opportunities for public space and beautification.
We're excited too. Thank you.
to that point, we are doing some work on sort of north of this project, both on Friend and then in the future on Canal. It'd be good just to make sure that we are figuring out how to have that design be seamless from one side of New Chardon to the other.
And I would say too, you know, the other piece of this is thinking about the connection between all the way down Canal Street. So our retail, we've aligned with Canal Street. So all of the great work that's happening at North Station right now, which will open before us, but that, you know, we'll have bookends at either side. And so we just need to make sure that that all matches up. Yeah, it's going to be great.
Talk about that.
Yeah, we're excited.
To that point and to the chair, Chief Osgood's point, so that huge pedestrian flow along Canal Street is in conflict with a piece of roadway that has an on-ramp to I-93. Okay, so somehow that conflict spot, your best architects, engineers need to re-envision that area before we have an awkward moment in the years to come. This is such an exciting project. Unfortunately, that on-ramp to I-93, including going to the airport, you know the conflict point.
Yes, I know exactly.
Right? Okay? So that needs to be properly envisioned. Right now, I think it is very awkward, and this is going to promote more activity. And if we can think through how that space, that conflict point is to function in the domain of your urban design, and if we can give it some thought from today itself, which I know I have mentioned this in the
It's been a
past.
huge issue for us right from the very beginning. We've spent a lot of time with BTD on this issue because it's a corridor, and by the way, our offices are in the garage, and my office actually is almost right over that. And so beginning at 4 o'clock, from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock, when people are trying to get through there, people are trying to catch the train by pedestrian, and you know, cars are trying to get out through the tunnel. I watch it, right? And there's a near miss almost every night, you know, so I see it. So it's a huge, we have to kind of balance the interests of the cars who are trying to get through the tunnel, but the pedestrians are, pedestrians are there. For us, we come down in favor of the pedestrians, obviously. Yes. And so, you know, we're working very closely on that. We have the basics of the design on that. I would say, you know, it's not perfect yet, nothing ever is, and we just have to keep working with you and the whole team to make sure that that's better.
This may require a solution that is unconventional, outside the box, of how to manage a pedestrian flow of people that may be very excited. Let's assume we came from a Bruins win or something, or disappointed from some situation where your mind is somewhere else.
Yes.
And then a motorist who is hell-bent on running the light or getting onto I-93.
Yeah.
So that's a very awkward
I agree.
point. And I think we require urban design insight.
I agree. I agree.
Visually calm things down.
We'll work carefully on that. We look forward to working with you guys on that too.
And
as well.
that's something that we, you know, obviously this is kind of a master plan, and those areas have been identified, and they've committed to work with us in resolving those issues, and we appreciate that. Very challenging.
Yeah, it's not easy. These are good problems to have. I mean, the fact that we're right at that transportation hub, the reason we think this is a good project is because we're right on top of Haymarket Square, and we're right on top of the entrance to the tunnel. So those are good things, but, you know, you're bringing all these people into one place. We have to make sure that the design is, you know, up to scale, and so we agree.
A point which has been raised earlier, which I think you'll be very mindful of, it is likely that at some point in time, some of the streetlights that are going to be put in, there'll be an interest to swap some of those out for antennas. So just to make sure that we are building for that potential change, so having the additional necessary conduit, which Amy can sort of help walk through.
Yeah, that's kind of been our feeling too. I mean, that's, you know, as we've worked with BTD, we've put in the lights already at the base of Bowker Street. We've changed the crosswalk across New Chardon, as you guys know. But I think we're constantly trying to look at it and say, okay, how's it working today? I think, you know, the first, I'm not going to look at it as I say this, but the first couple of months were a little painful for all of us because we were trying to figure it out, right? And so we did after some painful moments, but so we're going to need to do more of that this is a whole new, this garage was built in 1969, and we've been living with it, and it's, you know, everybody has wanted to get rid of it. And as we go through this next phase, it's going to be a big change for downtown, and we all need to work together to try and make it all work well. There's going to be a period of like ripping the Band-Aid off, you know, to make it work. But we've established a good team with you guys, and we, you know, intend to keep doing that. So.
Sorry, could you please remind me the BPDA's engagement to this project? I know the police department because they have that building. How does BPDA come into this equation? Remind me again.
So we own the Hawkins, New Sudbury Mall, the Bowker Street area.
Got it.
So we're
You own that building.
transferring.
So we're taking that, so when you go next to our garage, you know, the stairs that are just as ugly as the garage that go down to Bowker Street, we're reconfiguring that whole thing into a park. It's gonna be a big, I don't think we brought any boards on that, but it's a whole big park that will also, today those stairs do not have handicap access. So we'll create handicapped access, a new park, and a brand new entrance to Bowker Street.
And it will still remain as the fee ownership
No,
of
we'll bring it in Bowker Street. So the whole point of this is that there's a spot that's currently unutilized that's becoming kind of a plaza that would connect these two streets. It'll be part of the Bowker Street right of way so that we don't have to worry about there's lots of.
Fee ownership, Amy, will be.
It won't matter once it's in a right of way.
Right.
The park will be called Captain Fong Park.
Yes, after all we've been through, absolutely. Don't get him in trouble.
No, because we want it healthy and.
Will the generator and dumpster be screened from the park?
Yeah, so the generator, the generator that's there now is maybe been there since the beginning of the police station, so it's probably 30 years old. It's a diesel powered generator, and so we're gonna replace that. It's noisy, it's bad. So we're gonna replace that and screen that, and same with the dumpster as well, yeah.
Other questions or comments on any elements of this? Anything which you guys would like to share? We haven't covered. Amy or Todd? Members of the public? Right. Our next meeting is in 2 weeks on July 26th. Does that work for you?
All set.
All right, see you on the 26th.
Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner.
Our next item is 99 Sumner Street, East Boston, specific repairs on a petition by DIV Sumner Street LLC.
Sumner Street in East Boston, adjacent to Lopresti Park. To my left is Stephen Davis, the Vice President of the Davis Companies, whose affiliate is the developer here, and Rick Latini from Howard Stein Hudson Associates, the civil engineers in the project. We also have the project architect, Brian O'Connor from Q3, the landscape architect, Ian Ramey from Copley Wolf Associates. So I'll let Stephen present the project.
Great,
Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Commissioners, for your time this morning or afternoon. Just a quick overview of the project. This is the former Hodge Boiler Works site. It's about a 1.2-acre buildable parcel located on the East Boston waterfront. It's situated between Lopresti Park to its west and Carlton Wharf and Clippership Wharf to its east. Also to its east are the projects at 125 Sumner, which you just reviewed. The site itself is oriented about north-south, away from the water, the northern edge being Sumner Street. On the eastern edge, we have London Street Extension, which is a private way with public access. The project itself is 107 residential condominiums, of which 6 are inclusionary development policy units. At the ground floor on the water side, we have about a 6,400 square foot facility of public accommodation, Chapter 91 mandated space, which we're designating as a work share space, likely to be operated by a local company called Work Bar. In the subgrade parking structure, there are 80 parking spaces for use by the residents. For resiliency purposes, the building design has involved raising that subgrade structure out of the grade a bit, such that the southern edge of our podium is about 6.5 feet above the harbor walk, which is otherwise complete. We're completing the final link of the East Boston Harbor Walk on East Boston's southern shore. With that, unless there are any questions, I'm going to turn it over to Rick Latini to present the project.
Rick Latini with Howard Stein Hudson. Just to quickly give you a little overview, in case you wonder where we are. about 5 blocks to the north off the sheet is Central Square, and about 3 blocks to the east is Maverick Station, if you want to know the location. So, as Steve mentioned, we have Harbor Walk here. We're here today just to talk about Sumner Street. I just wanted to have you see the overall plan. I'm going to throw a blow up Sumner Street and go through that real quickly. So one of the first items we're doing is we are widening this private drive. It's currently 18 feet, so we worked with Boston Fire Department to come up with a site emergency access plan. They had asked us to widen this, so that's one of the things we're doing. We're also building new pedestrian ramps. We're also reconstructing the one to the east, and the one to the north is actually compliant slope-wise, but we're adding a detectable warning strip. We're also closing, the garage entry is actually off of the private drive, so we're closing two, you can't see them that well on the plan, but there's 2 curb cuts. One's like 23 feet and the other one's 18 feet, so there'll be no curb cuts on Sumner Street for our parcel. For the furnishing zone, we are proposing a 4-foot wide strip of permeable pavers. We're proposing 4 street trees. We're maintaining the existing street lights, but they'll still have a 15-foot offset from the trees. Behind the we actually have 3 bike racks in the furnishing zone too, and then behind that, we have an 8-foot wide cement concrete pedestrian path. There is no frontage zone within the public way, but we do have about 5 or 5.5 foot wide planters in front of the building. For the street trees too, for the support system for the street trees, we're proposing an irrigation system. So there's a 4-inch line right behind the permeable pavers that's holding basically a 1-inch drip irrigation line that it'll have laterals to each one of the trees. We're also proposing structural soil within the area of the trees, which has a rectangle outlined in your plans. And underneath the structural soil will be a sub-drain system. That sub-drain system is tying into a local catch basin. We've already submitted a site plan to Boston Water and Sewer and gotten first rounds of comments. There was no comments actually on that particular connection, so just to let you know we've gone through that already. I think that is it. If you want to bring to questions or comments from the commission.
You said that the street lights are going to be the same. So, what do you know? What type of lights that are there? Here's what I'm trying to get at. I'm not sure whether the city has a master plan as to what the lights are to be. It will be really awkward if we have a hodgepodge of street lights in this area. And maybe because of our other larger project areas, we had a consistent palette. And I'm afraid that there is no one within our extended review family that see whether this has acorns, whether this is, we are recycling some garbage from another century.
These are actually newer lights, but before public hearing, I'll make sure they're not changing them out to something new.
There's another project upstream, downstream. About 10, 12 years ago, we did Maverick Landing as a BHA project and sort of set a standard as to what the fixtures are. They may be out of cycle.
Okay,
so
I'll check it.
At least that and the other project we heard on Sumner Street.
Correct.
Same lights.
To that point, has there actually been a conversation with Wynn? Has there been do we have a consistent design palette between this project and the project right next door?
Well, ours are staying, so we're not changing anything. So is your question?
But you need to change it. Let me say it in another way. It needs to be the same thing, Rebecca, otherwise it's going to look like real cracks.
So is the request to see if ours are synchronized with the other project? And if not, for us to change ours? I'm just trying to...
So I think that this project has relatively new lights. We're looking for consistencies and to ensure that these are the lights that Street Lighting has requested in front of the project that came earlier today and the other.
So it's not really a request of our project, right?
It's a request that it's a request that the streetscape is standard.
Verify with Street Lighting that we will have a consistent street lighting bar on Summer Street.
Because when we do individual project reviews, sometimes I may fail to look at what's to my left or to my right. So that is where you come in.
I believe it's consistent, but I will check and make sure there's not a plan to change them for anybody. But and the most important thing, I forgot to mention that we're actually maintaining these improvements, of course, with the structural soil and whatnot. So.
TAPR agreement?
Bob D'Amico has been reviewing it. I think it's pretty close. I have Guy here. If there's specific questions, he's been working with Bob D'Amico over.
Any specific mitigation that we're getting out of this? Pedestrian improvements?
Yeah, Guy Booza, Howard Stein Hudson. We submitted the TAPA back in middle of June. Bob D'Amico and Vineet have been reviewing it, and when Vineet gets back on Monday, we're going to talk about the specific mitigation measures.
What's proposed?
Well, right now, we're, our major,
Which one do you want?
so this work here, connecting the Harbor Walk along through Lopresti Park, and also this whole public amenity space here is all about $1 million worth of
City right away.
transportation amenities.
No, actually, let me just clarify. The London Street extension is privately owned
Yeah.
by the folks to the east.
Right.
What the proponent has done is to pull the building back so that a city standard sidewalk can be created along London Street extension to provide direct access to this new section of the East Boston Harbor Walk. And that will be privately maintained as part of our private property, but it will be a public sidewalk. So that's a pretty significant pedestrian
When you
passage.
say it's going to be a public sidewalk,
What do you mean?
What I mean is that it will be a sidewalk, it will look and feel like
Can
every
I park
city-
next to it?
Excuse me?
Can I park my car next to it?
Well, nobody has the right to park on London Street extension other than the
Because
folks
it's
who
80
own.
feet, my apology, that's a skinny one.
Yeah.
but it's actually a private way, right?
That's correct.
The sidewalk, the London Street is a private way. What I'm talking about is a sidewalk that will be on private property, that will be, look and feel and be open to the public with no gates or anything. So if you want to stroll down to the Harbor Walk or off the Harbor Walk, back up to Sumner Street and to get to Maverick Station, you'll be able to do that along this new sidewalk.
And then
So there's no formal public access rights, this is just allowing people to cross their public property. They're not formalizing the public's rights to travel.
So it's a private way, open to public.
No, I don't
Sidewalk
think
on
it's
private
even that.
property.
No? So it's a private way, all right.
No, I apologize.
It's a sidewalk on private property next to a private way.
Are there street lights?
Lights on the sidewalk?
Yes, ma'am. I mean,
Yes.
if I'm going to
Yes.
walk over there at 9 o'clock at night,
Yes, sir. With me is Ian Ramey from Copley Wolf Design Group, who can speak to the street lighting a little bit.
please.
I'm Ian Ramey with Copley Wolf Design Group, and we are proposing street lights along the sidewalk on London Street Extension.
A little bit hard to see. Yeah, you can see them here.
Thank you. And so the sidewalk width, you will have street
Yeah.
lights, and
Yes.
if I'm in a wheelchair, I have enough clear space to go through without.
Absolutely.
Correct. It's an
Wonderful.
8-foot width.
Thank you so much.
So the sidewalk will be owned, maintained by the condominium association that owns the property.
So what improvements are you doing on the public way? It's mitigation.
Well, so your specific question about what our mitigation was, that was a comment by the commissioner on the TAPA, and we're waiting for Vineet to come back from vacation to discuss with him if this is an adequate public improvement, continuation of the Harbor Walk down along through here. I don't know if that's on public way or
And
not.
that's your chapter 91, correct?
Could be.
It is,
So-
what could be.
That
It
could
is.
be.
So it is a question that was raised, and we'll figure that out.
So what I'm looking for, okay, you've installed some bike racks on Sumner Street.
Right.
What else are we doing? We're enhancing the crosswalks, putting safety signage. What improvements for the community in that respect? From a transportation perspective.
It's also worth mentioning in this context that in the building's garage, we're having a building-owned car sharing service. So it's going to be for the residents, but the intention there is to reduce traffic volume in the neighborhood.
Like a zip car?
It's like a zip car owned by, it's Envoy is the name of the company that operates this. It's an electric vehicle, and it'll actually become property of the condominium association for use by the residents.
Okay, so it's not for use by the community.
Correct, although it does reduce traffic by virtue of reducing car ownership. in
There's a
theory.
T station right across the way.
And there's a T station right across the way. Right.
Specific to your question, it's the topic of discussion.
Next week.
Thank you very much.
And Work Bar is your tenant?
We're finalizing negotiations with them right now, but that's the likely tenant. They've been with us through the design process from the beginning.
Do you have a sense of how many folks will be working out of the Work Bar area?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear
Do
the
you know
question.
how many people would likely be working out of the Work Bar area? How many
I
desks they
don't
would
know,
basically have?
that offhand. Yeah.
I think that'll also factor in, you'll have a interesting tenant, good tenant,
Yep.
but you'll have a lot of people who will be coming to to that space from the T-stop from us.
Yeah, and that was the intention originally with, and speaking with them about their interest in the site, was that it's a great public transit-oriented site.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, other questions or comments on this proposal? Amy or Todd? Members of the public? All right, is 2 weeks enough time?
Yes.
All right, we'll see you guys on the 26th.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next item of business is Boylston Street, Kilmarnock Street, Chief Street, Lewis Street, Moon Street, High Street, Bromfield Street, Boston proper, grant of location on a petition by Extenet Systems, Inc.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Let's see. For the record, Ricardo Souza from Prince Labelle Thai, One International Place, Boston, Massachusetts, here on behalf of the petitioner Extenet Systems. And to my left is John Morrison from UC Synergetics, our engineer. And then to the far left is Arthur Pino, who's a construction manager for Extenet Systems. And Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this is a continued effort to extend our wireless DAS network here in the city of Boston, utilizing the city's streetlights. All 5 of these digs relate to 5 existing streetlights, which will be replaced utilizing the standard design in our license agreement. And most of our digs have been reviewed and approved because they're shorter by PIC staff. However, these 5 digs are of a length and of a location that require your review and approval. And so each of these locations has been approved by Boston Street Lighting, Boston Water and Sewer, Mayor's Office for Neighborhood Services, and they've also involved community outreach as well for each of these. And I can go through each one if you'd like. The first of which is BBX 103, which is on Kilmarnock Street and Boylston Street. And
may I
of course,
interrupt you for a moment. There has been some concerns. I'm not sure whether these concerns have been flushed out. Some of your prior installations, I can name a few, but I'm not sure. I think you know the locations where the street light base is larger than what we anticipated, and it is a source of discomfort, including violation of basic ADA passageways.
Okay.
If we question, just go to the north end and pick any one of your locations. So I have, to the best of my ability, try to communicate back to you as to the size of it.
We're moving to a side mount cabinet rather than that.
Have we seen a mock-up of it? I think I asked one of you very fine, gentle people to show us a better looking setup. Have you all made any attempts on that front? Or do you anticipate just coming to this commission requesting additional installations without giving us the information which we need?
so what we are doing is utilizing even the, there are essentially approximately 25 or 30 exhibits attached to the license agreement. Some involve bases and some involve cabinets. From our perspective, there's no preference for us to utilize a base cabinet. We would more prefer to utilize a pole-mounted cabinet. It's just easier for us to build. We typically don't have the ADA issues as well as a result of using the pole-mounted cabinets, and we would be happy to utilize those in connection with these nodes as well.
Do you have approved, within Exhibit X, do you have approved designs for side mounts?
Yes.
For all of these, for all the
Yeah, we're
replacements?
pretty much
Yes.
looking through everybody to get them the side mount standard.
Somehow,
I think one of the concerns was the original side mounts that were being proposed, the cabinets were huge.
huge.
And
Okay.
skipping up in a
Yep.
historical district.
Right,
it's not acceptable.
so the base mount cabinets are the ones that we've struggled with in the north end and stuff, because they look, all of those communities saw the rendering of it, but they don't really understand the magnitude of that actual base. The side mount cabinets are much smaller, and we have had much better luck with those going in and people not
I
even.
think it needs to be totally relooked at, especially the north end. I mean, violation of ADA, violating the law by putting these things in.
Right, this is
So-
a reaction to that.
Yeah.
So, excuse me, I'm
Of
sorry.
course. And I'd like to be able to respond to that as well.
I think the dialogue
Laura.
shouldn't be where we find problems with what you all are installing. There's a little bit of courtesy that I'm expecting from your team, where you should understand what our concerns are.
Of course.
Because if we continue down this path, we may be forced to inspect every one of your locations and then.
We actually are inspecting every one of your locations.
We are.
Yes.
Okay, and we have had instances where we've actually met out at the site with the former chief, and we actually measured our nodes, and they were actually in compliance. That being said, there has been a gravitation to actually convert our designs to using pole-mounted, and we would much prefer to use pole-mounted. And historically, if I could, Para, historically, the base cabinet was actually imposed upon us first by the BBAC. The Historic District specifically stated that we could only utilize a design that was a base cabinet because they wanted more of an ornamental pole. And so that, in reaction to that, we actually built what they required. And that design continued to get approved by other historic districts, but then there's been a sway back towards pole-mounted. And we would, as I said, much prefer to install pole-mounted cabinets, and we're always working to make those smaller. We do conform to the X exhibits that are in that license agreement that have specific dimensions, and those were guided by DoIT and other agencies in the city. And so we can't exceed those dimensions. But I think over time, what's happening is that the equipment is going to get smaller over time.
So I value your explanation. If I can have an understanding as to how the situation in the north end, how did it come about? Because you are saying base mounts, that's a standard size, but did someone measure to make sure that this approved size conforms to the sidewalk width? And if there's no sidewalk width, then you want to go pole mount, but then they become bulky.
At the point of time of the north end installation, we had not approved any side mount cabinets. We were forcing people into the bases.
Right.
In violation of our own standards in terms of sidewalk clearance, ADA requirements.
Their sidewalk clearances are fine. It's just that it diminished it, and that was the cause for concern. They meet the bare minimums of our clearance requirements, but that was our first time to say, all right, this is not the only standard we want them to have. We want them to have the base mount as an option, but we want the cabinet mount because, as you said, if this technology gets smaller, that base will never get smaller, but a side mounted cabinet will go away and a new one will appear in its place, hopefully with a smaller footprint.
But the problem being is, they're meeting the minimum requirements. We're in an urban setting.
Exactly.
It's a city sidewalk, and we're less than 4 feet.
Right, and the side mount ones don't impact accessibility at all, and that was why we went back to those.
And these things are not pretty. I don't like to use such an enlightened word like the word pretty, but they may be utterly incompatible with some of the locations which we are spending millions of dollars trying to create a different urban design vision. Okay, case in point is the Mass Ave over Conmad Bridge, and I wasn't very appreciative of the drama which we had to go through because of your asset being there. And we gave you a grant of location. Yes, that is true. But after spending $10+ million of dollars, we don't want something that is incompatible with the urban design vision. So please do work with us to come up with a product that is compatible to your needs.
We respect all of the disciplines that are represented here at the Commission. We really do. We really try. Each of our, both Rick Angelini as project manager and Arthur Pino, really try to work with each of these agencies face to face. We're not a company that's coming from out of state. These gentlemen are based here in Massachusetts. They are in the city pretty much every day. They want to make sure. That was very unfortunate what happened on Mass Ave, Com Ave. Very, very unfortunate. And however, I think Arthur's been working very hard to make sure that that contractor doesn't work for us anymore. And going forward, we will have even tighter coordination with all the various agencies. We think that's incredibly important. We're here to stay. There are other companies that continue to building these types of nodes. It's an important part of the infrastructure from a wireless standpoint. It's becoming so ubiquitous. It's important that the wireless carriers have reliable coverage, not only for commercial purposes, but also for E911 services. And we do work with DoIT to try to improve the design. We meet with them on a regular basis to try to propose new designs that are going to perhaps be more aesthetic. And we also take the steps to...
DoIT's not an architectural agency or a design agency. They're
but they are
an IT agency.
Right, but they're the funnel, with all due respect, they are the funnel that takes a design and then sends it to all the landmarks commissions to review from an aesthetic perspective. And so they just collect those comments back.
Do they get sent to disabilities also?
Disabilities has been involved, yes, absolutely.
Disabilities is the big driver for getting them up off the ground.
Yeah, right. And as I said, in most cities, we actually don't build those base cabinets for the reasons that you articulated. And so that was something that was imposed upon us. We would very much rather have our cabinets on the poles themselves. And we can make sure that that's the case with respect to these. We will have to go back on one of them because the Landmarks Commission actually approved a base cabinet. So we'll have to go back to Landmarks and change that design so that it's pole mount.
They approve it for what districts?
So Landmarks,
It's in the south end.
yeah, so none of these 5 are actually in historic districts. However, BDT 60, which is on Bromfield Street, is in front of a designated historic building, and therefore it's subject to the jurisdiction of the Landmarks Commission, and therefore we went to the Landmarks Commission to get their approval.
So
we
it's
received.
not Landmark. Who reviews it outside of Landmark?
Then it depends on the individual neighborhood. Mons always reviews these, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services, and in addition to that, we go to the local community groups as well. So, for example, in the North End, we went to the North End Waterfront Residents Association and North End Neighborhood Council. On the first one that's in the Fenway, which is on Kilmarnock Street, we met with the Fenway Civic Association. So we make sure we do that community outreach.
So the BRA has no design review oversight of design? That's unbelievable. Because usually they have them reviewing everything else.
Yeah, no, it's just it's a public works asset, so.
Right.
Street lighting, it basically approves just the swap, and the aesthetics are kind of driven by people proposing options for different areas, and they, some get through, some don't, and they're just adding to their menu of what's approved and different light standards, that they can replace. But there's no, aesthetic review being done by, like, the BPDA or an architect or,
Provided that we utilize a design that's approved under the license agreement. So if we go off that design, then this commission would have to approve any alternative design.
we approve a catalog for them, and then they just pick from that and say, street lighting, we want to take this pole, we're going to replace this Acorn standard with the approved DAS Acorn standard, and that's what happens.
Yeah. And I apologize, I misstated. When the Landmarks Commission approved the one on Bromfield Street, they actually approved a pole-mounted cabinet, not a base for that one. Yep. Right.
Those pole-mounted cabinets, the cabinet, here's the pole, here's the cabinet.
Yes.
And roughly what height is the cabinet?
So it depends on the structure itself. John, can you give a sort of an average height?
Is it at my nose height, or is it 20 feet
No,
up in there?
no, it's above a head.
Yeah, it's 12 to 15 feet generally, so to the base of the
The
cabinet.
height of that banister up there, roughly.
Yes,
and
most
it
likely.
is, when we first started this business about 15, 20 years ago, these babies looked the size of a refrigerator or a water
they're
machine.
much smaller now.
Right? It has become smaller, but sometimes not necessarily much smaller. If I, on a window adjacent to these structures, get to see this. Okay? I think we may have had a similar conversation at the Mass Ave location.
Correct.
Okay? So we are trying to be very respectful of what you all are trying to do.
Of course.
But I think you all need to understand that we are in a very highly urbanized city where the properties come right up to the property line. We have very limited sidewalks. The street light was very slender, and you, in your quest to provide services, are taking that slender structure and adding elements to it that may be slightly incompatible from the urban design vision.
Right. And that one actually did also go to the BBAC as well, to the Back Bay Architectural Commission, and they reviewed and approved it. It also met with the Back Bay Civic Association as well. And but what's that?
What street?
The one on Mass Ave, Com Ave. Yeah, it's in the district. But Para, I very much understand the concerns. I will continue to pass that on to Extenet. It is very sensitive to those issues. We push the manufacturers as hard as we possibly could so that these can get smaller and smaller. And I think over time, just as everybody's phone and iPads have gotten smaller, I really think the equipment's gotten smaller. If you compare it to what's on a rooftop, it is easily 1/20th the size.
No one can see the rooftops.
Correct. We try to do that. That's right. If you go to New York City, you can see them, but you're right. The City of Boston does a very good job of minimizing visibility. on those rooftop installations. But those are the macro sites, and these are the sites that are on the ground that are trying to offload that traffic and provide that stronger E911 signal as well. But we will continue to send that message to our client.
Can I talk about record drawings?
Of course.
So, Boston Water and Sewer sees these locations as utility plans, and we sign off on the design plan saying, okay, we think you can go there and not be in our way.
Right.
However, such as the situation on Kilmarnock, we're going into this neighborhood next year and replacing a lot of water mains, and we're going to be repairing sewers. And this is a neighborhood that we've targeted to try to get our infrastructure up to speed to match the pace of development.
Sure.
But we can't plot a design plan on our base plans for our water mains design. That would be irresponsible engineering to just say, yeah, this is a design plan, because then it's taken as, you know, fact.
Right.
It's not fact. What we really need are record drawings. So could you walk me through the process of how any one of these agencies that are producing capital plans could receive record drawings for how these are actually installed? Because these are beautiful straight lines, and I highly doubt that they're going to go in as beautiful straight lines.
I'll defer to John, our
What's the
engineer, on that.
process? I just want to know how it works.
Generally, the contractor should provide, they are diverting from the proposed running line. So if they divert from the proposed running line, we'll get a plan back, and Extenet, we will update that in Extenet's records. We can provide those to you. I mean, I know currently we're providing you all of our utility base plans.
Yes.
And so you get those. In the case where a running line may alter, we can provide those to you.
So I think typically the way it works, like when we're creating our base plans, is you'll get a request from, you know, Denise or CAG Group, you know, and they'll say, okay, we're in this area, give me your records.
Right.
And you guys give us your records. But when you give us the records, what are you giving us? You're just giving us the design plan? Do you make an as-built for every installation?
Yes.
All right, so what we're getting from you is an as-built, not a design plan.
You can get as-bills. Yes, we can give them to you.
When we make that request through Denise, right? We're getting an as-built back?
It depends. If the project's already been built, yes. But if the project is still in the design phase, you get what our design
Yeah, well,
is.
then I wouldn't expect to have an as-built if it's still,
Yeah, so
But that would be a very small percentage of the time that, you know, you've got something planned and we come through and we're doing, it's usually.
Well, surprisingly, no, because we have a very large backlog.
Yeah.
Generally, these things go to water and sewer. I mean, I have jobs that water and sewer has signed off on, and we've got pick approval and we have do it approval
And they're still
that we've
not-
had since 2017 that we've not received permits to actually do the construction yet. So there could be, in some
Okay.
instances, 6 months
All right, I
where a
appreciate
plan
that.
is
That's
just
good.
sitting.
All right, so, well, I mean, that, it would be unreasonable to expect anything other than the design plan.
Exactly.
But ones that have gone in the ground, every time there's an as-built, and when we request things in that area, we're getting an as-built back.
Exactly.
Okay, all right, and that's typical for any agency that would request your base map.
Yes, anybody that needs them gets them.
Thank you.
John, can you do me a big favor? Can you do me a big favor?
Yeah.
In future submissions, especially where you're changing a street light pole, in addition to what is being submitted here, I would like to see a properly identifiable photograph of the existing street light, okay?
Okay.
So that I'm looking at it in the context of just not the street light, the sidewalk, the adjacent property, okay? Plus, what your proposed new structure is going to look in the same scale in the context. So this way, I, as one person not sitting over here, can assist the others to make an evaluation in comparison to your north end location. You want to put something at the intersection of, well, I don't know where it is, somewhere on
Kilmarnock and Boylston, are you looking at that
no
one?
idea, on north
Okay.
end, okay? So I got a spot over here, and I am not capable of evaluating whether that thing actually meets the needs, even though you are saying there's a whole
Okay.
bunch of us that are actually supposed to look at it.
Sure.
Okay?
Of course,
So
we can do that.
photographic evidence as to the current pole, new pole, whether it is base up in the sky, wherever, in a scale context where without the need of a magnifying glass, we can readily understand the impact of that.
Sure.
Can you provide us that?
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Yes, we can do that. And I would like to point out one change that we will make before the public hearing, which is to BBX 103. It's a change to the better. We were discussing just as a team that we will convert that long dig to a micro trench so that instead of having such a long traditional dig, it will be micro trenching along Kilmark and then a shorter, approximately 30-foot dig that will be on Boylston.
Yeah, truly value your efforts and your initiatives on the below ground digging. It is just the stuff that is popping out on the street light swaps that are a bit challenging.
Okay, and I know there's some sensitivity to the long digs as well sometimes as well. So
we are very appreciative of the efforts which you all are doing on that front.
Okay.
We get high marks on that. It is just the poles
it's
that
the
are
above ground
becoming
sensitivities.
very, because you got cabinets, then you got a base of a straight pole with the flared bottom, and it looks very awkward. We will solve the problem of who within City Hall is approving that type of a design, where a traditional street light base, the flared fluted base, is up okay, on a pedestal pole.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, very good.
I know it's been an issue with other places. Do we know that the places you're trenching to are places that you alone have approvals to put in a antenna?
Yes.
Okay. Brian has confirmed that there's not, or Mike Donaghy, or it's clear that we're not trenching to a place where there's going to be a question of who has.
That's correct. Each of these 5 locations have been approved by Boston Street Lighting. Yes.
Right.
Yep. And do it.
Like High Street and the Rose Kennedy Greenway, I'm going to see John Fitzgerald Surface Road. Okay, so we spent about $16 billion creating an urban design framework over there. That's a, that's a prominent location.
Yep.
Okay?
And
so do provide us pictures as to what it's going to look like.
I will do.
Find out.
We'll bring those photo simulations, Para, and to tell you the truth, there are actually other already existing nodes along the Rose Kennedy Greenway, for example, by other companies. And the reason is, from a technical standpoint and from a business standpoint, there's so much data traffic on the Rose Kennedy Greenway that's where the carriers need coverage. It is a technical need as to why we need a street light node there.
I'm not debating the service which you are providing. I'm just debating
the aesthetics
light which we are experiencing.
I understand that. Very good.
Confident that technology and the manufacturing industry can come up with a product that meets your needs as much as our needs.
Very good.
Other questions or comments? Jamie or Todd? Members of the public? All right, see you in 2 weeks on the 26th?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioners. Appreciate your time and your comments.
Our final item of new business is 79-89 West Broadway, A Street, Silver Street, South Boston, vertical discontinuance, pedestrian easements, specific repairs, projection license on a set of joint petitions by Broadway and A Street LLC and the Boston Planning and Development Authority.
Good afternoon. My name's Jay Carroll with Howard Stein Hudson. I'm the civil engineer for this project. With me today is Michael Moore of Broadway and A Street LLC and Doug Stefanov of Stefanov Architects. And then also for support, if there's any traffic questions, Guy Busa from Howard Stein Hudson is behind us as well.
Amy, who is with BPDA, did I miss? Sorry.
Oh, and BPDA. So the project 7989 West Broadway. This is at A Street and West Broadway in South Boston, just a few blocks from the Broadway T-stop. What we're proposing is to demolish the existing gas station that's on this site, close up the 3 curb cuts. There are 2 curb cuts on West Broadway, 1 on A Street, and the proposed building is a 6-story building, ground floor commercial space, residential units above, 88 below-grade parking space, parking garage that's accessed off of Silver Street on the backside, and 2 accessible spaces that are at grade that are accessed off of the private way between our site and the police station. For the petitions, we have a pedestrian easement for A Street and Silver Street, so we'll be widening the sidewalk for the approach up to West Broadway along A Street to 7.5 feet. That'll just be reconstructed with concrete. On Silver Street, it's being widened to 5 feet from our property limit up to the private way on Silver Street. And for for specific repairs, we have on West Broadway, we'll be doing 5 proposed street trees plantings with pervious paving in the furnishing zone. There'll be a subdrain along with the pervious paving that'll connect to the proposed lateral that'll go out to the main storm drain in West Broadway. We have 7 bike racks that are being installed in the furnishing zone along West Broadway as well. We'll be reconstructing the pedestrian ramp at the corner of West Broadway and A Street, along with the reciprocal ramp that goes across West Broadway at the corner where Amarine's is. And we are also relocating the bus stop that's on the West Broadway. It'll be starting right at the corner of A Street and extending up approximately 70 feet. So we'll be providing a concrete landing for both the rear and front loading of that bus stop. And we also, and I'm going to have Doug Stefanov talk a little bit about the building, because we have some balconies that are going to overhang the property, along with a canopy entrance and marquee. So we have a projection license and also a discontinuance for the balconies overhang, but also because that first floor is going to be, or the second floor I should say, will overhang the first floor. There's some column footings that have to extend out over the property line as well. So if Doug would like to.
Thank you all. So we're proposing a 65-unit residential building over approximately 9,000 square feet of commercial space with a mechanical parking facility accessed off Silver. We wanted to provide some outside space for the tenants, and that's where the balconies were created. We're both recessing the wall and then a small projection out to kind of give a combined space that's somewhat usable. There's really, there's 5 on the front. We've been through civic design review and continual BPDA design review. We've made, these are the final, last addition we have right now. We just removed another balcony off A and reconfigured the one you see to the right. So it's a prominent gateway building. We have a granite basis of materials, granite base, a terracotta central portion, and then it's a ribbed metallic dark top. See, we also have a garden, a roof garden, with 14 private and some common space for the tenants on top, with grass and low-growing matrix. So we're all very excited about that. So thank you.
Just condo or rental?
Condo.
Condo.
Is your condos for sale? First floor, commercial, retail?
Yes, there's 2 main commercial spaces. There's like a 5,000 off to the right. The entrance is on Broadway, and there's a smaller 2,500, 3,000 square feet on the other side. But the bulk of the building is the park. Yes.
And is it contemplated that those will be restaurant space?
We are designing the large one for a restaurant.
And we have room for a sidewalk cafe without?
Yes, I pulled actually the building back. You can see that through design review, we provided space within our property.
So that's the intended use of
Yes,
that?
yes, sir.
Okay. Good job.
What's the width between the columns and the building face?
We're still in structural. They're about 18 inches, plus or minus 2 feet.
Okay. So how far do you imagine the sidewalk cafe then extending out?
We're imagining a sidewalk cafe.
How far would you imagine that extending out from the building face?
It shouldn't extend out past the property.
Yeah,
it'll be right at
within the property.
Right.
Yep.
Sorry, so between the columns and the actual
Oh,
first
yes.
floor building
It's like
face
8
is-
feet.
Great, back.
Yep.
18 inches seem.
No, I thought you said column.
No.
Columns are 18.
What's the construction timeline for this? Because there's a lot of construction in this neighborhood right now, right?
There's a busy place.
So when do we start? When do we finish?
They're intending to start this fall, and it'd be a 24-month schedule they're looking at, so fall of 2020.
Thank
that going to be a podium-style building?
It is a podium. This is a two-story podium with 4 wood above, so type 2B and then type 5A.
You indicated that there was a mechanical parking.
Yeah, we're trying to use a company called City Lift, which makes these devices that both move the cars vertically and horizontally within the machine.
So my concern would be with that, there's really no attendant. Silver Street is an emergency access way for the Boston Police Department and EMS. Is there a vestibule that they basically go into?
There's a
no
20.
queuing on the street? Have we looked at that?
We do have a 20-foot wide two-way traffic aisle between the machines and a 20-foot planned.
So one vehicle?
Well, 2 can fit through 20 feet. Two-way.
One coming out, one going in?
Well, it's one way. So the private way would be a one-way path off Broadway, down between the building and the police station, and then turning onto Silver.
So the concern, Guy, and you know what my concern is.
It's hard to s-
Vehicles
yeah.
parked there and emergency vehicles trying to get dispatched.
So this whole swath here.
It's hard to see on the bit screened in the graphic here.
We can.
Maybe for Guy, it's hard to say.
You can see it. This whole swath here is 20 feet wide, and let's see, how many?
How long is it?
3, 4, we have about 4 column depth. So how
Yeah,
long?
so it's quite deep. It's almost 80 feet.
And what you do is you pull in here, and then position the car to go in. So this is 20 feet by 8 feet.
So I'd like to see an operations plan, how that's gonna be operated, because that will have significant impact if there's anything that's queued up on that street, blocking EMS or Boston Police. And then secondly, the MBTA bus stop relocation, what was the impetus of that?
So we talked to the MBTA about actually, the MBTA had gone through a bus stop reconsolidation out here, but they did not look at this stretch of Broadway. So we asked if this stop was necessary or not because of its proximity to Broadway Station. It's number 911, virtually no one uses it. I used to use this route. But they wanted to keep the stop, so what we did was, right now it's between the curb cuts. They asked it to be close to the far side, so it's right after the intersection. And you said 70 feet is what they asked for.
About 70 feet, yeah.
So we coordinated maintaining that stop with the MBTA.
So obviously you need to coordinate that with us, right?
Yes.
So you dealt with Karen and
Yes,
Dave?
Karen Burns,
All right, we'll have a conversation with them, but additionally, it looks like the main entryway, then you have a brick apron that looks like inviting pedestrians across mid-block unsignalized. What are we doing there?
The main entry to the building.
Now look, go right across the sidewalk, there's a brick apron right at the edge.
That's the pervious.
No.
This here. This.
Now,
No, this-
see the main entrance? Right in the middle. Now go north, right there.
That's a pervious pavement.
So on my plan that I have in front of me, it's much wider. Okay, so there's no tree planting there, no nothing?
There's tree plantings virtually bracketing the entryway here, and a bike racks in between. Oh, actually, no.
We could talk to the
This is
landscape arch.
MBTA stuff.
Yeah.
And then if you
No.
go to, if you go westbound, there's no pervious pavers after that?
In this zone here?
Yeah.
This is where the bus stop is.
Why wouldn't the pervious pavers be applicable there?
Accessibility, smooth cement concrete path.
Concrete.
Wanna go there? And we're gonna, our friends with the disabilities, carry on.
I can check with the landscape architect if we want to shift the tree so it's
Yeah.
more in line with the door. Is what you'd like to see?
Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate that. As long as it doesn't interrupt the bus entrance.
So loading for the building, seeing that we're gonna have 2 commercial uses and where are we loading?
So the back garage here has a delivery area. However, the narrowness of Silver Street really only allows trucks of up to 30 feet to get in there.
So an SU 30?
So moving about, if it's larger than 30, will have to be by permit on the street. We're actually adding.
But I'm more concerned about the restaurant.
Yeah, understood. And not being in the bus stop.
Right.
Like they do everywhere.
Yep, well, what, you say we don't enforce regulations?
We try.
All right.
You do.
So what is your plan to remedy that?
Well, it'll be in the.
That's a good engineering thing, you know, you're gonna engineer something that we don't have enforcement issues. So what are we planning?
So we can work with the owner on condo agreements. Specific size vehicle, where, and where they can deliver.
And that's good for the condo, but also for the restaurant. We need some good language when they're gonna accept deliveries, when those
Right.
deliveries are gonna be taken. Right?
Go ahead, Brian.
So you had a conveyance system. How many levels of parking? How many levels is that going to operate on?
4 and 3.
Okay.
And I've gone to see Tom White about this already, in terms of fire protection. So we've got a
Need
plan.
variance?
No, it's
Elevator?
just sprinklers. He's not concerned it's a vault, per se. It's
Elevator
an
code?
open,
Elevator variance?
there will be that.
Okay.
Yes.
Question too, are they going to have like some sort of a beacon or an alarm that might affect a neighboring building or anything else down
We
there,
can
like an
be-
apartment building or something?
Could be silent.
Just
Yeah. Well, visible.
Drainage
Strobe.
off the- like a bank. Drainage off the balconies, back slope,
Yes. Trace heat off the marquee.
BBDA because they can't go through city council.
Yeah, well, no, it's based on the fee ownership.
Yeah.
Other questions or comments? All right, I'm your tab.
We're good.
Members of the public? All right, is 2 weeks enough time?
Well,
I think
yeah,
it-
we were actually looking at, I think, August 23rd for the public hearing because we have to do a tree removal hearing
Got it.
on August 2nd. And we also have the BPDA public board hearing on, I think it's August 16th. So
we'll
we
see
think,
you on the 23rd of August?
yes.
6 weeks.
Is this article you guys project?
Oh, yes.
Yep.
So where's the tap up? Were we in process with it?
And on May 23rd, you made a comment on the 25th with some monitoring devices.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, I checked with Pat Hoey this week and he won't be back.
All right, thanks so much. We'll see you guys in August.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? So moved.